Keep that streak going indeed. Thank you, Kaito, for the 28 months on the 26-month streak. Hell yeah, good shit. Hey, everyone. Well, tonight, time for some more Tyrion Cuthbert. A game I have to boot on stream, because if I alt-tab, things get weird with it. And I just accidentally boosted desktop audio to fuck. That will work, right? I hope that's the right level I had at before. So all the game's loading up. Last time, we went through the entirety of Case 1, and I feel like we're probably getting towards the end of the, probably at least first investigation day of Case 2, because I imagine being the first real overall case, there's probably going to be 2 investigation days at a minimum. Based upon what I remember of the Ace Attorney investigations on the whole. Usually, at least starting from Case 2, you had like 1 or 2 days of that. Alright. I think I already talked everything about you had to say, right? Yeah, I did. Hey, Tam! Hope you're doing well tonight. I actually don't remember where we were supposed to go. Are we supposed to go talk to the twins? Oh, fuck, I don't remember the voices I did last night. That's potentially bad.
Ow, I just also bumped my knee.
I've mentioned it before, but I guess my secondary desk now is made of metal. And it's got protruding squares of metal rods that I frequently just slam the funny bone equivalent on my legs into, and at this point, if I damage my legs, I won't be surprised. Oh. Those 2 are finally gone. Can finally get some cleaning done. Okay, there she is. Use detect magic to scan her from here. Right. Just don't shout the incantation like you always do. I know that. Alright, here goes. Area Arcanum. What the? What is it? There's a trace of magic on her. I knew it. Which school of magic is it? It's necromancy. There's a trace of necromancy on her. What? What do we do now? Still not sure how this fits in with everything. For now, let's talk to her and see if we can get more information out of her. If all else fails, we can confront her with the evidence we have. Oh, you 2 again! Fortunate for her, that won't work this time. Miss Yanis, did you know there's a trace of necromancy on Bellwether's body? That's what he used to kill the professor, right? A necromancy spell? That's the thing. If that were true, a lot of the evidence we found doesn't make sense. I think somebody else cast a spell on the body. Is it possible you saw someone use magic on Bellwether?
No, definitely not.
Her thoughts are an open book now. If you'd heard an argument, her thoughts might show you what she's thinking. Let's get into this. Valentina clearly knows more than she's letting on. She found the body alongside her sister and reacted strangely when you mentioned someone may have used magic on the body. What is she hiding? Miss Yanis, from the beginning, I felt like you've been hiding something from us. There's something you're not telling us about.
What are you talking about?
Conscience is clear. I've told you and the knights everything. I've got nothing to hide. Needs to stay calm. Well, she's definitely contradicting that. I think empathy is gonna go here. Yeah, if she's concerned with protecting herself. Okay. Miss Yanis, it's clear to anyone how nervous you are. I can practically see the fear you're emanating right now. Just tell us the truth. It'll be a lot easier for the both of us.
Let's say I were hiding something. Which I'm not, by the way.
Why should I tell you anything?
I know my rights.
Will not feel pity for him, so appeal's not going to work in this case. So that's the line we're going with. Nothing to lose by telling us what happens. I know you're not the murderer. Make sure you're protected. She'll continue to hide her secrets unless what she thinks she's doing is dangerous for her, and she thinks she's safe if she keeps secrets. So I think in this case, threaten. Yeah, and this will directly threaten her, making her think it's dangerous to keep the secret. You've already given your statement to the Inquisition. The truth comes out. What do you think they'll do when they realize you lied to them? Who are you protecting, Miss Yanis?
You talk a big game, but I bet you can't actually prove anything, can you?
You think I'm lying to protect someone? I don't even know any mages. I definitely didn't see anyone use magic on the body. Well, now you see, we definitely know you know mages because you work at this school. But also, your body has magic traces on it. You can't hide the truth from us, Miss Yanis.
What?
You said that you've never even seen a necromancy spell before. If that were true, then why is there a trace of necromancy on you?
Wait, what? There's a trace of necromancy on me?
What? Did she not know about the spell that was cast on her? No, that doesn't make any sense. If she didn't know about the trace, she wouldn't have avoided Celeste back then. There must be an explanation for this.
This is crazy! Why is there a trace of necromancy on me? Am I going to die? Am I going to become a zombie?
That's strange. Is she really unaware that a spell was cast on her? Or is she playing dumb? She knows that someone used magic on her, but she doesn't know what the spell was. Necromancy. I think I know what I want here, but I need to see. Yeah. Because if healing magic's technically necromancy magic, she probably wouldn't associate that as necromancy by default. Calm down, Miss Yanis. Not all necromancy spells are related to the undead. Healing spells are also from the school of necromancy. Healing spells? Gee, like she knows that a mage who studies healing magic. That person be a student here?
Sorry, I just remembered that there is something else I have to do. I'll be right back. Hey, come back here!
She ran away again.
I can catch her. There's no way she'd outrun me.
No, the Inquisition is still stationed around the surrounding areas. They'd probably intervene if we started harassing one of the witnesses. That's true. But we weren't able to learn anything. Actually, I did learn one thing. She has a friend who cast a healing spell on her.
Really? How did you figure that out?
Good deductive reasoning.
Wow. Well, healing magic's also a form of necromancy, right? I guess that explains the trace on her. It's a good thing we know Wallace. Otherwise, we might have also thought a necromancer was trying to kill her.
Wait a minute.
That's it! What, did you figure something out? This whole time, we've been wondering why there was a trace of necromancy on the body. It isn't because someone attacked Bellwether with a necromancy spell. It's because somebody used a necromancy in an attempt to heal her. Oh, I see. It doesn't matter what type of necromancy spell someone uses. Spells from the same school of magic leave the same type of trace.
Not just that, the body clearly has blood on it. What would happen if someone used a healing spell on a wounded body? It would close all of that body's wounds. In other words, it would remove any cuts or bruises.
Well, interrogating Valentina may have been a dead end. But it still gave us what we needed, just what we needed to win this case.
I'm not so sure that was a dead end.
Well, what do you mean? It's not that suspicious that she asked someone to heal her if she has injured herself.
But if it's only that, why would she go to so much trouble to hide it?
It's too coincidental.
The wounds in the body were healed by an unknown person. And the person who found the body is hiding the identity of a healer. They have to be the same person.
I guess that makes sense. So what do we do now?
Valentina is definitely onto us. I doubt we'll get a third chance to speak with her. Hopefully what we have now is enough to acquit Wallace. Alright. Classic setup for one of these games. Oh, a new noble! I was reading Discord DMs. I've already done like 2 super uppity voices.
I demand to know why you're still holding on to my rapier. It's a precious family heirloom and I want it back.
It's evidence in the current case.
Evidence? The professor was killed with necromancy.
Was she, though?
Why are you asking me? You're the one who's investigating this.
I suppose that doesn't matter. Just know that I will bring her murderer to justice. No matter who it may be. Alright, it's time for the trial. Take deep breaths and relax.
Hi, Tyrion.
Ah, Celeste! Don't sneak up on me like that.
Why are you so nervous?
It's not as if this is your first time defending someone.
I can't help it.
There's something about this building that just fills me with anxiety. It's too bad Ruby couldn't make it.
I'd say that you should calm down for Wallace's sake, but... There's so many people here! And they're all staring at me! Their eyes are probably gonna be like a pack of flesh-eating maggots!
Gross. Don't worry, Wallace. Our investigation revealed a lot of weaknesses in the prosecution's case. We have a strong case for your acquittal.
Oh, okay. See, you can be confident when you want to be.
It's strange. Something is calming about Wallace's anxiety. I see Tyrion's the dad friend and just didn't have someone to be the dad for yet. I get you. Like he just absorbs the tension out of you and into himself. Court is now in session for the trial of Wallace Nightgrave. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is also ready. Very well, let's begin the proceedings. Prosecutor Steelwind, could you please list the charges? The defendant is a student at the Wyvern Guard Imperial Academy. Mr. Nightgrave is charged with first-degree murder, negligent misuse of the arcane arts, and illegal practice of advanced necromancy.
Necromancy?
You mean to tell me that the defendant's a necromancer?
I can't believe it! A necromancer in this day and age?
How could the kingdom let this happen?
Your Honor, I would like to remind the court that they should view my client objectively. Of course, but needs to see it in the list of charges. Necromancy plays a large role in the charges.
Indeed, the crime occurred within the academy this morning. The victim is Catherine Bellwether, a professor at this school. Although there were no witnesses, traces of necromancy were detected on the body. Furthermore, the autopsy report shows that the body has no physical wounds. I see. Necromancy is the only type of magic that can harm an individual without physically wounding them. Additionally, the alchemist report shows no sign of poison or disease. Therefore, one can only conclude that a necromancer had committed the crime. As many of you know, necromancy is held under high scrutiny by the Crown. Aside from the defendant, no other students were permitted to learn advanced necrotic magic. As such, the defendant was the only mage in that building capable of committing the murder. I see. That is certainly compelling evidence. To properly present our case, the prosecution would like to call Commander Orm White to the stand. Commander White, please testify to the court about the Inquisition's findings.
Ah, yeah. It started when the City Watch got a call from the Imperial Academy. Someone was attacked and the whole building was put on lockdown. We set up a perimeter around the area and waited for the lockdown system to deactivate. When we finally got into the building, the prosecutor personally inspected the body and detected traces of necromancy on it. There were no cuts or bruises on the body either. The entire body was clean. With those two pieces of evidence, we concluded that it could only be the necromancer kid that did it.
The Inquisition's testimony is just as you expected. You've already found and identified the holes in Steelwind's case. All I have to do is find that hole in the commander's testimony.
Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination.
There were no bruises on the body, but the body definitely wasn't clean. There was blood all over it and on the floor beneath it, if memory serves.
Objection!
Commander White, it appears that you've neglected to mention one key detail of the crime scene.
Yeah? And what's that?
During your testimony, you said the entire body was clean. I will admit there weren't any wounds on the body. However, the body was certainly not clean. At the scene of the crime, there was a large pool of blood located where the body was. This blood came from the victim's body, and it was definitely not clean like the commander testified.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but I fail to see the significance in this.
I'd like to remind the court that the prosecution's case against my client. They're accusing him of murdering the victim using necrotic blight, a spell which would not have physically wounded the victim. So why wasn't there any blood at all? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The fact still stands, there were no wounds on the body, and nor were there any reports of poison or disease on the autopsy. There are clearly magical elements in this case. But Catherine Bellwether was bleeding profusely at some point. How else could there be a blood stain on the body? Do you have an explanation for that, Miss Steelwind? No, I'll admit that the prosecution doesn't have an explanation for that. And while I do find the circumstances questionable, all other evidence clearly points to the defendant. If the victim wasn't killed with necromancy, why was there a trace of it on the body? I'm glad you asked. I'd like to present a spell that could have left a trace of necromancy on the body. That would be the healing spell. Well, there you are.
End wounds.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that a healing spell? That's correct, Your Honor. Spells from the school of necromancy can control the forces of life, death, and life. Mend wounds is in fact a necromancy spell.
Really now? I wasn't aware of this.
Now, I'd like the court to consider the following. What would happen if Bellwether was wounded and someone attempted to heal her using mend wounds? All of her wounds would disappear from her body.
I see.
Objection!
Do you honestly think I'm that incompetent, Mr. Cuthbert? Frankly, I'm a little insulted. What? The Inquisition is well aware of what happens when a mage attempts to save a victim using mend wounds. The healers that arrived at the scene already confirmed that the victim was long dead. None of them attempted to heal her. Well, what if someone tried to heal her and didn't report it? Please, none of the healers would have had anything to gain by doing so. In fact, as a necromancer, the defendant could have easily carried out the described scenario. He could have cast mend wounds on the victim after murdering her to confound the investigation. At the end of the day, the burden of the proof is on you. But if you could just find out who healed the body, the case is yours. And whoever this healer is, Valentina definitely knows her. Your Honor, I'll admit that I don't have any evidence to support my theory. However, I do believe that we can bring it to light. There may have been two people that witnessed someone cast magic on the body. Valentina and Valerie Yenis. The sisters who discovered the body. This is nonsense. We've already questioned those two witnesses extensively. If they had witnessed something like that, it would have come up in their testimony. If that's true, then you have nothing to lose by hearing their testimonies. Very well. If you're so confident, let's hear the witness's testimony.
It seems the prosecution has no objections. However, if this line of questioning leads nowhere, I will see no reason to further prolong this trial. You understand, Mr. Cuthbert?
Of course, Your Honor. I love the inner thoughts so much. Like, yeah, a lot of the statements are pretty straightforward, but it adds a lot of personality. Also, I'm laughing because the friend who got me to play Layton is currently playing through Justice for All, and she just sent me a scene from the flashback in Turnabout Big Top in Justice for All, and just went, the bite of 87. I can't deny that she's right on that. She just got on the stand and she's already stressed out. This could work in your favor. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. My name. Witness, there's no need to be so nervous. You merely want to hear what you saw on the day of the murder. Right. It's just that guy over there. You mean Mr. Cuthbert? Did this man harass you, witness? Wait a minute. Yeah, he, super harassed me.
How shameful.
I would expect a member of our justice system to behave more professionally. Oh, shut up. Anyways, please state your name and occupation for the court, Miss Yanis. My name is Valentina Yanis. I'm a member of the kitchen staff at Wyvern Guard Imperial Academy. As I recall, you were one of the witnesses who discovered the body. Apparently, the defense finds your involvement suspect. Rest assured, Miss Yanis. In this courtroom, you'll be protected from Mr. Cuthbert's harassment. Now, please testify to the court on what happened that day. Yeah. I was walking with my sister in the West Wing when we noticed something in a nearby classroom. We looked over to see what it was, and that's when we saw Miss Bellwether bleeding on the ground. My sister tried her best to help her, but the professor had already lost a lot of blood. While my sister did that, I used an emergency communication device to call for help. But it was too late. By the time her bleeding stopped, she'd already lost too much blood. If your theory is true, that means she just lied in her testimony. She's definitely holding something back. Definitely some more than she's letting on. Prove that somehow.
Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination.
Look for vagueness, look for vagueness. The fact that they outright say she's bleeding means that we can prove that anything that happened that would have stopped the bleeding happened after they found her. Let's see, two potential places I can press here. Did that is vague enough, but she might be referring to this line, so we're going to start here. It's how would you help someone that's losing a lot of blood? Try to help her. Miss Yanis, how exactly did your sister try to help Miss Bellwether? What? Oh, my sister used first aid to try to stop the bleeding. I see. Could you please add that detail to your testimony? Yeah, sure. She used first aid and applied pressure to her wound to stop the bleeding. What wound? Where's autopsy? I'm glad they actually put the words beneath the head to match which it is.
Objection!
Witness, what is the meaning of this? What? What are you looking at me like that? Maybe I can elaborate, Miss Yanis. You weren't present in the gallery earlier, were you? No, I was waiting in the lobby. Lady Steelman told me to wait there. Well, I suppose I should consider myself lucky. You see, Miss Yanis, one key element of the case is that the body didn't have any wounds on it. Yeah, so? So, please explain to the court, Miss Yanis. How did Valerie apply first aid when there shouldn't have been any wounds on the body? What?
There's clearly something amiss here.
but I'm afraid I don't fully understand the implications of this. You're accusing the witness of committing perjury, Mr. Cuthbert. When someone lies, they stay as close to the truth as possible while changing minute details. In her thoughts, Valentina said that she was sure she saw a wound on Bellwether. She also mentioned that Valerie was the one who tried to save the professor. If she didn't try to save Bellwether with first aid, how could she have used magic instead? Her sister could be the mage we're looking for. The witness was lying, Your Honor, but not about everything. Valerie Yanis did try to save the victim's life by addressing her wounds, but she didn't use first aid, she used magic.
Objection!
I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but your theory is completely flawed. How so, Miss Steelwind? Well, it's quite simple. We've already verified that neither of the sisters are mages. What? Wait, how can you be so sure? During the investigation, we had both Yanis sisters attuned to a spell compendium. It's a standard procedure for the Inquisition when interviewing witnesses. And that means... That's correct. Neither of the Yanis sisters could attune to a compendium. Ha! That's right! The Inquisition checked us both. Neither of us are mages! Damn it, are we wrong about Valerie being a mage then? Oh, right. Thought said he found us out, and you were on the right track. Valerie has to be the mage we're looking for. Celeste, is it possible for a mage to hold a spell compendium and avoid attuning to it? No, it just needs to be on their person. When I was arrested, the Inquisition also made me attune to one of their spell compendiums. They were really careful about to make sure I did the attunement correctly.
There's no way a mage could avoid attuning to a compendium with them watching you. Right, Commander White may be negligent sometimes, but even he isn't that careless. Now, if you're done, I do believe that you've exhausted all of your options. Wait, I'm still not done cross-examining the witness. What could you possibly hope to glean from her testimony? Valentina should be stressed out enough to see more of her thoughts. Can't exactly say you're planning to read her mind. There's one key element of her testimony that the court is overlooking. I have a right as an attorney to complete my cross-examination. Your Honor, the defense is clearly trying to buy time. I'd be compelled to agree with you. However, I'll also admit that some elements of the witness's testimony are quite peculiar. I will allow the defense to perform one more cross-examination. It's close. I know that this is your last chance, Mr. Cuthbert. Produce nothing substantial, I will pass my verdict. Of course, Your Honor. Alright, it's all or nothing. Can't find anything by reading her mind, this whole case is finished. Witness, please give your testimony once more. Okay. Like I said, my sister and I saw Miss Bellwether bleeding on the ground. We rushed over to her. Now that you mentioned it, I don't know if I saw any wounds on her, but I definitely saw blood. My sister tried to save her, but she didn't use any magic. Neither of us is a mage. Both of us held that book that the knights gave us. The commander was watching us the whole time. He can confirm it. I see. What are we going to do? Pretty hard proof that Valerie isn't a mage. Valerie is the mage we're looking for. I'm sure of it. I'm just not sure why they felt the need to lie to the Inquisition. More importantly, how did they trick the Inquisition? They pulled a parent trap, probably. Now we got the interpret command too, so I need to be looking at the thoughts more than anything.
Objection!
Miss Yanis, your thoughts betray you. What? Found the thought. They must have done something, but what? Must have happened when Commander White was interrogating them. The running and spinning. I think it confused him. Running and spinning. Her thoughts also said it's a good thing we were twins. This means their so-called trick wouldn't have worked if they weren't twins. Yeah, I'd say they just swapped places. I hope I have the right twin in the right place. I think I do. Of course, they switched places! Valentina attuned to the first spell compendium, then she pretended to be Valerie to attune to the second. Commander White couldn't tell the difference between them. Miss Yanis, there's something I want to confirm. During the investigation, both you and Valerie attuned to a spell compendium. Am I correct?
Yeah, that night watch, just do it. And how did he have you do this? Did you both attune to those compendiums at the same time? Or did you attune one after the other? What? I fail to see how this makes any difference, Mr. Cuthbert.
Yes, I agree.
Spell compendiums would work regardless of what order they went in. You may not be aware of this, Your Honor, but Valentina and Valerie Yanis are identical twins, which means that their physical appearances are nearly identical to each other. If Commander White didn't have them attuned at the same time, what would stop the twins from switching places with each other?
Objection!
This is clearly nothing but baseless conjecture. Orem wouldn't fail at such a basic task. Really, Prosecutor Steelwind? You find it hard to believe that Commander White would fail at a task like this? Wait a minute, this is crazy! We didn't trick the Inquisition! My sister and I are not mages! Then prove it, Miss Yanis. Bring in your sister and we'll have you attuned to 2 spell compendiums at the same time. No, wait.
Order in the court. It's clear we won't get anywhere unless we test the defense's theory. Bailiff, escort Valerie Yanis to the stand and bring 2 unattuned spell compendiums.
Both had their hands on those compendiums for the last 10 minutes. No way they keep faking in front of this many people. It's the moment of truth. Only hope that your theory's correct. No, did he seriously?
What is it, Prosecutor Steelwind? What do you see?
What I see is Commander White seeking new employment in the near future. It appears the defense was correct. Valentina Yanis isn't a mage, but Valerie Yanis is. What's more, Valerie Yanis' compendium contains the Mend Wounds spell, which makes the defense's theory entirely plausible. Please just allow me to explain. We should allow you to explain what exactly? You're an unregistered mage, and you and your sister have made fools out of all of us with your perjury. How would you know what it's like, Lady Steelwind? What? Do you think we didn't notice your name? Not like us. You don't have to hide. This whole situation has gone down a hand. I didn't think hiding it would cause so much trouble. I won't let someone go to prison because of me, even if he is a necromancer. Please let me testify about what I saw. I'll tell you what really happened that day.
Very well. But understand that there will be repercussions for your actions, witness.
Yes, I know. My sister and I were walking the hallway from the kitchen to the foyer. And I suddenly spotted the professor lying in a pool of blood in a nearby classroom. Valentina used a communication device to call for help while I tried to save her. I saw that she was bleeding, so I cast Mend Wounds on her to close the wounds. But it was too late. Closed the hole in her stomach, but she was already dead.
There was a hole in her stomach?
Your Honor, as you can clearly see from the witness's testimony, the trace of necromancy was left by the witness, not my client. What's more, it's clear that there was a physical wound on the body.
I see. Well,
Birds trail off. Clearly doesn't want to pass a verdict when there's no clear culprit. He has no choice. The case against Wallace is predicated on Bellwether being killed by necromancy. With Valerie's testimony, the prosecution doesn't have a shred of evidence implicating him unless we get an objection in 3 seconds. Let's see, what spell are they going to say he used instead of Necrotic Blight? Animate Corpse, probably. Yeah, probably Animate Corpse.
Very well. The court sees no reason to prolong this trial. With these new developments, the court has no choice but to find Wallace Nightgrave not...
Objection!
I believe the court's ignoring one key detail of the witness's testimony. And what would that be, Miss Steelwind? Let's re-examine the witness's testimony. The communication device that Valentina Yanis uses logs the time of day during each use. From this log, we know that Valentina used this device at 3:04 p.m., so she would have been dead for about an hour then. This was an hour after the time of death. Where are you going with this? Mr. Cuthbert, there was a witness who saw the victim before the body was found. Jan Hughes. He, along with another witness, spotted Bellwether walking the hallway before the body was found. 20 to 30 minutes before the body was found. You see the discrepancy, Mr. Cuthbert? Wait, can't be right. Bellwether died more than an hour before the body was found? So how did Jan see her half an hour after her death? I wonder, Mr. Cuthbert, how could one make a dead body move and walk around? You can't mean... There was more than one piece of evidence that pointed to a necromancer committing the crime. The defendant murdered the victim and used necromancy to animate her corpse. Undead created within the Imperial Academy? How reprehensible. It's ridiculous. She had a hole in her stomach when the twins found her. Jan Hughes would have noticed that. Animate corpse stops the flow of blood, so she wouldn't have tracked blood anywhere. The defendant is also proficient with illusion magic. He could have easily used an illusion spell to hide the undead Bellwether's wounds. Another party could have easily used illusion magic to disguise themselves as the victim. If that were true, how did they move the body to the classroom? Because that's where she died? Maybe? Miss Steelwind, if your theory is true, it would mean the murder occurred elsewhere. Would the Inquisition happen to know where? Regrettably, we do not. Then the prosecution's case against my client is still faulty. You can't convict my client without more evidence. I agree with Mr. Cuthbert. With these new developments, the court sees it fit to suspend the trial for the time being. We will give law enforcement time to investigate these unknowns. Court proceedings for this case will resume tomorrow morning. Court is adjourned. Hey, are you feeling okay? A body is seen moving around an hour after death. Clearly wasn't Bellwether, or at the very least she wasn't alive when this happened. But what was it? Tyrion? There's illusion magic involved. There has to be. Which spell was it? Could it have been illusory disguise? Tyrion! What? I've been quiet since the trial ended. You're making me worried. Sorry, I was just thinking about what Steelwind said. You mean about her theory? A little creepy when you think about it. You really think someone turned the professor into an undead? I don't think so. The prosecution's case is hinged on one clear fact. That Wallace was the only high-level necromancer nearby. You have to assume that he's the only person capable of using that type of magic. Then how is she walking around? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. So given that Wallace didn't touch the body, so we can discount the use of high-level necromancy. No matter what, someone used an illusion. But aren't there spells that can create freestanding illusions, not just disguises? I honestly don't know. We need to talk to someone who knows about that type of magic. Wait, didn't Eris say that she was studying illusion magic? You might be able to tell us if something like that is possible. That really a good idea? What do you mean? What if she's the one who created the illusion? What? You're detecting fear from her again. Celeste, are you scared of Eris? What? No. I saw it this morning, too. You always get really scared when she's around. I thought I was doing a better job of hiding it. Sorry, it's not based on anything real, but... For years I've been working as a mercenary. When you do that kind of work, you build up an instinct to sense danger. You kind of have to if you want to stay alive. Sorry, I never knew. Tyrion, I fought literal monsters and barely escaped with my life. When I'm near Eris, none of those creatures come even close. Get this feeling. It's like I'm in front of a predator that I could never hope to beat. It's every instinct I have tells me to run when she's close by.
Really? Doesn't seem that dangerous.
I know. Maybe I'm just anxious or something. I should know better than anyone not to judge people by their appearance. Sorry, did I said anything? If you think we should talk to her, then we should do that. You're not one to discount Celeste's instincts. She's always been reliable, and if Eris is making her scared, this means something. But if Eris really is that dangerous, then that's all the more reason to talk to her. But aside from that, there was also something else the prosecutor said. He said along with another witness. That means there was another witness that saw Bellwether walking around. Right. Jan probably isn't the most reliable witness. But talking to that other person might help us figure out what happened. Do you think Steelman will tell us who that witness was? At this point, we won't lose anything by trying. In any case, looks like you have your work cut out for you. Where should we start first? A good question indeed. Tyrion, what are we doing here? I'm not sure. For some reason you felt drawn to this place. Wait, is that Eris? Les points further into the cemetery. There you see Eris standing in front of a gravestone. Placing flowers on it and appears to be chanting a short prayer. Well, we found her. We should probably talk to her later. It'd be rude to disturb her now. As you're about to leave, Eris suddenly turns to face you. Far away, but you can see her beckoning you over. Oh, hello there. Were you two looking for me? Sorry, we were looking for you, but we understand if you'd rather talk later. No, I was just finishing up here. Did you have something you wanted to talk to me about? Well, we wanted to ask you some questions about the case. A lot of graves we don't know. But what if there's one for someone we do know? Oh, this one's marked differently. It's the grave that Eris was at earlier. The name of the stone says Emily Grant, and her lifetime appears to be awfully short. Okay, so this is the person that died. Must have only been 12 years old when she died. Oh. Damn. My first time watching a court trial. You were truly remarkable. Thank you. Were you in the gallery? I've always enjoyed watching physical battles in theater. But I see now that battles of wits can be just as entertaining to watch. Entertaining? Yeah, I know what you mean. You see the odds are stacked against him, but then he suddenly pulls out this crazy deduction and steers the trial in his favor. I've never really thought of it like that. And I'm sure it's far more entertaining to be the one making the deductions. I'm not really sure what you mean. I practice law so that I can help those persecuted by the justice system. I don't really do it to entertain myself. But is that really true? Oh, Jesus. Okay. What are they building up to with you? Don't you find the experience even a little bit entertaining, Tyrion? I really wouldn't put it that way. Far too modest. You save people from the clutches of death. To your clients, you might as well be a knight in shining armor. Earlier you said that you were studying illusion magic. I am. Did you want to ask me about the prosecution's theory? Yes, actually. How did you know? It was easy to guess after seeing you in the courthouse. Anyway, disguising an undead with an illusion is definitely possible. And as Lady Steelman said, illusory disguise would be the best spell for that. What if someone created a freestanding illusion? Freestanding illusion? Yeah, we know that Wallace didn't animate and disguise the professor's corpse. So what if the illusion wasn't disguising anything? Maybe someone created a freestanding illusion of Bellwether walking around? Something like that, one would probably use major illusion. Lasts until dispelled manually. In that case, requires a concentration. Can take the form of any object or creature contained within a 10-foot cube. Move the image to a different location within range, so you might be limited to like the 5 feet in either direction if it's in the direct center of that cube. Then can't be physically. What is it? I don't think major illusion is what we're looking for. Remember what Jan said? Yeah, Bellwether knocked into something. If the bellwether that Jan saw was a major illusion, then she couldn't have knocked over that vase. That's what I'm wondering too. Like, her name is, like, even barring the obvious shit that they're definitely building her up to be ominous, which is about as subtle as a knife in your leg. Her name has to mean something. Like, I hear Eris, and my first thought is the character from Konosuba, admittedly. But I want to say that's the name of just a god, period, in something. Let the hydration flow. Thanks, Allie. Hope you're doing well tonight. Illusions created by that spell don't have any mass. See, how perceptive of you. Mother of Disc. Oh, Goddess of Discord. Yeah, that'll do it. Oh boy. Oh, Martin, they got your ass beaten out and they sick. Yeah, I've heard the legends already.
I'm excited to get that game, but there's so many other games. There's so many.
How perceptive of you. Aren't there any other illusion spells that do have mass? No, illusions can only recreate visual and auditory sensations.
Oh, Jesus. Thanks for the 7-month sub, Allie.
Illusions can only recreate visual and auditory sensations, but there isn't a single illusion spell that someone can touch. So that means someone disguised something to make it look like Bellwether. It was probably one of the automatons then. I'd look suspicious, Celeste. Sorry, I wasn't... Calm down, I'm only joking. I don't blame you for considering every possibility. In fact, I'm flattered you think I'm capable of pulling off such elaborate ruse.
Anyways, this does tell us one important thing.
What's that?
The Bellwether that Jan saw had a physical mass to it. It wasn't a freestanding illusion. It was someone or something disguised as Bellwether. And those eyes make it even all the more obvious.
Quite a shame, isn't it?
Eris looks pensively at the gravestone. The name on the stone says Emily Grant, and her lifetime appears to be awfully short. Must have only been 12 years old when she died. Sorry for interrupting you. Was she someone you knew?
Not personally. I'm actually here on Wallace's behalf. Wallace knew her? Wallace joined the Academy as part of a program run by Headmaster Redmond. At the time, the Headmaster was reaching out to mages among the common folk. He had started a program to admit these mages to the Academy without having to pay tuition. Both Emily and Wallace were among those mages.
Wow, that must have been an amazing opportunity for them. Ooh, that's a good theory, Tam. Honestly. Or maybe it's because clearly our eyes are something special. We're noticing that the illusion is actively happening, at the least. So, like, she's casting illusions to make other people do shit, or make appearances seem like things were allowed. I hear a cat. Hold up a second. Right now. Huh. Getting your ass beat by the chapter woman. I have heard that that game's first boss is fucked up. Fun to chill before bed. Yeah, I know that feeling. Oh god, I know that feeling. Yakuza 3 Billiards caused me to do that several times. Because that was like, what, I think a 3 or 4 day arc trying to beat that? The easiest? Oh, jeez. I mean, I'm not surprised Armored Core probably gets a little fucked up. Because I remember... I forget which one of the PS2 ones it was in. I know it was one of the PS2 ones, but there's just this stage that is... I forget if it's you defending or attacking a train. And if you don't have, like, the right weapon set up, it's just a hellscape.
Truth is, neither of them actually cared about learning magic. The real problem was that Emily had a terminal illness. She and Wallace were poor orphans, then they obviously didn't have the resources to treat it. They enrolled in the Academy.
The Academy will be obligated to give her medical treatment.
The Imperial Academy teaches the best mages in the kingdom. They thought that curing her illness would be an easy task for the Academy's healers. They were mistaken, I'm afraid. I'm sure you know this by now, but healing spells can only treat wounds. They can't cure illnesses. Emily's condition only got worse over the years, and eventually she succumbed to her illness. Wallace was furious. He didn't understand why the kingdom was outlawing magic that could save lives.
And that's why he decided to learn it himself.
Yes, the headmaster was inspired by Wallace's resolve. He gave him access to the Academy's forbidden tomes of necromancy. And Wallace taught himself the spells that he knows today. So that's why... they're supposed to stay secret between him and the headmaster. And I'm sure you know how that turned out.
The thing that's getting me whenever she does that is her eye glowing for one thing,
But also the fact that her hair starts to defy gravity. Wait, did I read that line right? 'Cause that was just the generic thing. So does that mean you know everything I need to get through the case? Thinking emoji? Alright, I think we're probably good here then. Let's head to the foyer first. So that's probably just gonna be Celeste, yeah. Alright, to the library! Oh, it's you, Mr. Cuthbert. Steelwind? What are you doing here? What happened at the trial yesterday, I decided it would be best to start my investigation here. Right, Wallace was in the library for the entire morning, so it would make sense that she'd start her search. Actually, since I have you here, have you seen Iris Ilmater anywhere? I understand that you're both acquainted with each other. Iris, what do you want with her? It's nothing, not for anything serious, mind you. Just that an oaf of a commander lost her spell compendium. Now we need her to produce another one for our records. If you see her, please let her know we'd like to speak to her. We saw her earlier in the cemetery nearby, but I have no idea where she is now. Once again, I have to compensate for that idiot's mistakes. Anyways, I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about the case. Very well, I suppose I still need to honor our deal from earlier. Have you had any luck finding the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, I haven't. From the witnesses' testimonies, we have a rough idea of what the Bellwether took. But none of the rooms we've checked have any sign of a struggle. Why are you so sure that a struggle has happened? I'm mainly basing it off the Yanis' sister's testimony. Valerie in particular noticed that the bleeding came from a wound in her stomach. Regrettably, the body's wounds were mended, so we can't determine what kind of a weapon the murderer used. During the trial, you mentioned that another witness saw Bellwether walking around yesterday. Would you be willing to tell us who that person is? I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that. I'm a little off guard. I've been pretty transparent with your investigation so far. What's changed? I have no obligation to justify myself to you. Nor do I have an obligation to help the opposition. Didn't we have a deal? Hiding information doesn't exactly seem fair to us. I believe I've given you plenty of information already. So regardless of what I said before, the answer is still no. Gotcha, the noble we saw. The Eye of Horus catches a stray thought from her. Her family is dangerous. What does that mean? There's something about this witness's family you're worried about? I'm sorry, but you have to try harder than that if you want to bluff me. Refer to the witness as a her. Furthermore, she said that her family is dangerous. Why would she go to such lengths to hide the witness's identity? In any case, it looks like she's not willing to share anymore at the moment. Maybe you should try looking somewhere else? Alright. Well, now we have a locker room we can access. That's new. Spend some time wandering through the academy when you overhear a conversation from a nearby room. From what I understand, Miss Steelwind's already moved the investigation elsewhere. How long must I wait before I can retrieve my things?
Sorry, old-timer. Orders are orders. Nothing comes in or out till this case is over and done with.
Commander White? And the headmaster, too? Oh, hello, Mr. Cuthbert.
Hey, kid.
In any case, there are other matters I must attend to. Please inform me when I can reclaim my things.
Sure.
The Commander White's standing guard in front of this locker room. Looks like he's conducting any sort of investigation. Is he on Steelwind's orders? I'd be able to tell you who the secret witness is. What do we got around first? But I want to specifically search this one. It's the number. Oh, actually, that's kind of interesting. You got like full-length lockers, but then we got these have ones that have like a little, I guess like a little book nook in them. What was the headmaster talking to you about?
Supposedly, he has some items stored in one of the faculty lockers. Problem is, Steelwind said no one gets in or out of this room. Except for her and you two, apparently. She won't even let the other knights in here.
Really? Is that normal?
Nope, but things rarely are when she's calling the shots.
How would she give you access to the crime scene if she wasn't even letting the knights in?
I don't know what her deal is, but she's been acting strange lately. Been real paranoid, that girl. Frankly, I can't tell what's going through her head.
White's an interesting, like, gumshoe stand-in type character because he's definitely more confident than he's definitely more competent than like Gumshoe himself is. If anything, in that regard, he's closer to Detective Badge from the Investigations duology. But he's so no nonsense in a way that I actually kind of respect. Because most of the other detectives I'm used to playing against in these games are definitely a little hapless, to say the least. I think the most competent one in the main game, in Ace Attorney itself, is I guess maybe Gregson? Gregson, just for the time, just because like forensics weren't a big thing at that point. And what the fuck was the name of Emma? That was her name. I mean, I guess it is kind of weird they open the same direction, but I guess it's like it wouldn't be harmful. It'd just be kind of like annoying if you're there at the same time as your locker mate, but maybe I'm assuming these are probably the faculty lockers over here, and these are probably student lockers. Maybe they try to schedule students out, so it's like this person, like maybe the bottom row is all out of class at the same time, then the top row is all out of class at the same time, so that then no one's just bumping their locker into their locker mate. You mentioned that the prosecutor had been paranoid lately. You think it's something to do with this case?
Nah, it's sort of way before that. Lately, she's been using the Inquisition to investigate a lot of non-magical homicides.
What? Wouldn't it be easier to work with the relevant law enforcement for that?
I don't know why, but she's convinced these cases have magic involved. When we scanned each and every one of those crime scenes, nothing turned up. I gotta say, though, if we weren't for the scans, I might actually agree with her.
Why do you say that?
Those homicides, I haven't ever seen anything like them. Probably some of the most screwed up cases I've ever handled. One of those cases, we had to ourselves a disgruntled spouse. She found out that her man was going around with the barkeep. You know what the spouse does? She stalks the poor woman. Starts leaving threatening notes all around where she worked. The barkeep told the city watch all about what was happening. And no matter how much they staked out the tavern, they could never catch the perp. And one day the barkeep arrived home. Little did she know the spouse was waiting there for her. Poor lady never had a chance. And to tie the whole thing up, the spouse waits for her husband to get home. He cooks him a big roast using the barkeep's remains. Ooh. Wow, that story's pretty... I know. Steelman thinks someone developed a new type of magic that can control people's minds. And these homicides were some kind of sick test run. Magic that can control people's minds? But wouldn't Mage Blight make more sense? Mage Blight? When a mage overuses their magic, it can have pretty bad consequences on their mind. They temporarily lose the grip of reality and begin seeing things that aren't there. When a mage becomes like that, it almost never ends well. They enter a frenzy and begin firing spells randomly, which only makes it worse. I've seen my fair share of Mage Blight cases, and this isn't like that. Not all the perps are mages, and the ones that were didn't even use their magic. One thing that each of the perps almost seemed to wake up after we arrested them. All of them said things like, "It wasn't me," or "I didn't have a choice." They didn't have a choice? What could that mean? I doubt it means anything. Most people can't face things they've done. It's easier to say you've had no control than to take responsibility.
So Mage Blight's essentially a much worse case of, like, mana sickness, I guess? You wonder if you can mislead the commander into revealing who the secret witness is. During the trial, Miss Steelman mentioned there was someone other than Jan Hughes who saw Bellwether walking around. Have you seen them around lately? We want to speak to them.
Ah, nice try, kid.
Well, it was worth a shot.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. I don't think anyone other than Steelman knows who that witness is. I sure as hell don't.
What? She's even hiding it from the Inquisition commander? Why is she being so secretive? Looks like the commander doesn't know who the secret witness is either. This isn't getting us anywhere. Steelman's behavior is strange, though. Perhaps you could try analyzing her behavior? Do that, you might be able to find a way to convince her to help you. Okay, Steelwind's behavior has been strange this time around. She's hiding elements of the case, even from the commander. Anyone can tell that she doesn't have much faith in him.
I'm standing right here.
But this is the first time I've seen her hide key details of a case from him. What's motivating her to keep secrets? There has to be a reason she's being so secretive. Logic, arrogance, or paranoia. It's probably paranoia, because she's already afraid of probably that noble lady's family. Her actions must be driven by paranoia. She's been hoarding information about the case. There's only one reason why she wouldn't utilize the Inquisition like she usually does. It's because she doesn't trust them.
I hate to say it, but that doesn't really surprise me. She's always been this standoffish with us.
There is one exception. There are individuals who she's trusted more than the Inquisition during this case. Us, because she wants us to be able to access this room as well. She let us investigate the crime scenes without any restrictions. Yeah, I never really thought about that. Does she trust us that much? I don't think personal trust is the reason. We don't usually interact with her, and she's worked with the Inquisition on plenty of cases that we weren't even involved in. Why doesn't she trust us? Why does she trust us this time? Tyrion, Wallace, Steele. Oh, wait, I think I see. Tyrion isn't controlled by the nobility. Like, we're just free roam. We're sort of free roamers in that regard. Steele doesn't know much about us, but she does know we aren't prone to noble corruption. Right, you indicted a noble during the last case. Meanwhile, the Inquisition usually bends to the nobility's whims.
Well, I can't argue with you.
Using my insight, I could tell she's worried about the witness's family. And if she's worried about corruption from the nobility, that can only mean one thing. The witness is a... The witness has to belong to a noble family. That's why she's so wary of interference. But we're obviously not going to do anything corrupt. Why is she hiding the witness's identity from us? All seeing a thought through the eye. I think she's worried about our safety.
Yeah, I guess harassing a noble could put you in danger. But
I'm the protege of the infamous Ruby Tamura. Yeah, it's not as if we aren't already on the nobility's bad side. I'm sure the Pierce family still has it out for us. This can only mean the family we're dealing with is even more powerful than House Pierce. The prosecutor is wary of them. They could even be as powerful as the Steelwinds.
wait, don't tell me you think we're dealing with one of them 4 pillars.
4 pillars? It's a name people use for the top 4 noble houses. These families stand in the top of the kingdom's aristocracy. If I recall correctly, the 4 pillars are House Frege, House von Sanctus, House Sybil, and House Steelwind. Steelwind's a part of them?
Yeah, which makes it so much weirder that she's serving as a prosecutor.
So that means we're looking for a Frege, a von Sanctus, or a Sybil. What is it?
Steelwind's weird behavior all started after she investigated this room. We were at the crime scene and she left to follow a lead. But an hour later, she came back to the lecture hall and booted everyone out.
Her behavior changed after investigating this room. That means she found something here. And that something must point to a family from the 4 pillars. Commander looks a bit anxious.
You know, Steelwind's orders say I can't snoop around here. You two, on the other hand,
Don't worry, just leave it to us.
I have some school records that say which locker belongs to which student. You can use it to tell whose locker you're looking at.
Oh, there's an arcane construct in the back there. It's probably here to aid the students. Anyways, I don't think it's relevant to our investigation. But perhaps you should make a small note of it anyway, which means it is relevant! Carefully across those and find some notable student names. You open Wallace's locker. Inside you find a barrel of fragrant liquid and something that looks like a makeup kit. Huh, I didn't expect Wallace to use stuff like this. It does seem strange, but it's not your place to judge. Anyway, you should try looking through the other lockers. You open the locker with Miriam Frege's ID number. Inside you find a stack of worn-out textbooks and notebooks. Wait a minute. These notebooks all have Wallace's name on them. You open the notebook and look through its pages. There appears to be research on the art of necromancy. These are Wallace's notebooks. Why are they in Miriam Frega's locker? Did Miriam steal his things? What's going on here? You and Celeste check the locker more thoroughly. Wait a minute. Tyrion, take a look at this! That's blood. Here's the legend the commander gave you. You open Jaden von Sanctus's locker. Inside you find several bottles of some kind of transparent lotion. There's nothing but lotion in here. Oh. Wonder why a student would need this much lotion. You take one of the bottles to inspect it more closely. Wait, Tyrion, don't touch those with your hands! It's some kind of sanitizing liquid. A little strange, but it doesn't relate to the case. You open Warren Sybil's locker. Inside you find some textbooks and a neatly stacked deck of tarot cards. Oh, it's like those cards that fortune tellers use. I wonder if the student studies divination magic. But anyways, I don't think this is related to the case. We found a few things. I can't really make sense of any of it. We should take a look at this from the prosecutor's perspective. Steelwind found something in one of the lockers. And whatever it is, it made her extremely paranoid. That would be the Frega locker. No matter how we look at it, we found some insanely suspicious things in Frega's locker. It had Wallace's notebooks and even some blood. That blood is certainly strange. Implied that something bloody was stored there. You think someone stole it? No, actually. I think it was Steelwind who took it. Oh, right, Orin mentioned she was investigating this room. Must have taken the bloody item as evidence. With that said, there's something that's strange about Miriam Frega's locker, and a lot of Wallace's possessions. Possible she really did steal those items from them. But more likely, it's this locker isn't actually hers. Remember what Wallace told us before? So someone switched the nameplates. This means that this isn't Miriam Frega's locker, it's Wallace's. But that would mean that the bloody object came from Wallace's locker. Appears so. But if that's true, why didn't Steelwind present the bloody item during the trial? I proved that Bellwether was wounded before Valerie healed her. Wouldn't that have been the perfect time to present what she found? It was a bloody item found in the defendant's locker, after all. Could have easily proved the nameplates were switched too. Right, that is weird. I think we'll just have to ask Steelwind ourselves. Oh, you're back. We've uncovered a few things during our investigation. Miss Steelwind, are you acquainted with a student named Miriam Frega? I said it before, Mr. Cuthbert, I won't fall for such an obvious bluff. It's not a bluff, Miss Steelwind. And I'll prove it using the evidence we've gathered. Steelwind is paranoid, and for whatever reason, it's due to the involvement of Miriam Frega. You could convince her to reveal why she's being so secretive. She might give you more information. Let's do it. You've been behaving strangely, Steelwind. What accepts arguments that aren't supported by evidence? So we're probably going to need to present more evidence to her than some of the other people we've had arguments with thus far. And she's uneasy about Frega and might be inclined to hide that more than actively. Even the Knights of the Prosecution and Inquisition have noticed. Please just tell me, why are you being so paranoid? Not sure what you're trying to imply, Mr. Cuthbert. I'll approach this case objectively, just like I have with every other case. Alright, then why aren't you allowing the Inquisition themselves to investigate? You've ordered the Knights to stay away from the crime scene, and you've even taken upon yourself to conduct the investigation yourself. That is not normal behavior for a prosecutor. I took those actions because the Inquisition is incompetent. How could I possibly trust them with anything? Knights are incompetent, but even you can see the value of delegation. During Celeste's case, you still delegated tasks to the Inquisition, and you could have easily investigated the McCoy Tavern yourself. This academy is huge. You wouldn't conduct your investigation this way unless you had good reason. why don't you enlighten me? What would cause me to act so strangely? Probably the families, so I guess in this case that would probably be the 4 pillars evidence? You know that the Inquisition is corrupt and will bend to the nobility. But what would happen if a powerful noble were publicly involved in the case? With that noble's influence, they'd probably order the Inquisition to conceal their involvement. A high-profile noble is involved in this case, Steelwind, and I believe that noble is Miriam Frege. Again with this, do you think you can bluff me by throwing out the names of random nobles? Not every noble is a malevolent criminal like Garrick Pierce. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nothing about this case has anything to do with House Frege. It'd probably be something we actually, you know what? If we've been... Oh, but in that case, it definitely does. Then how do you explain this, Steelwind? Commander told us yesterday you were following a lead in the locker room yesterday. We investigated the lockers of students from the 4 pillar families, and we found stains of blood in the locker with Miriam Frege's ID number, and was presumably left by a bloody object. The bloody object was taken by someone, and we heard that you became extremely paranoid after you found out something in the locker room. If I had to guess, I'd say you took the bloody object as evidence. And what evidence do you have to support these outrageous claims? What? The only thing you have is evidence of a blood stain. There's a myriad of explanations for that. Everything else you mentioned is pure speculation. I could have found any number of things in that room, or possibly nothing at all. Right, so we're not presenting this. Oh, in that case, actually, inclined to hide the involvement from the court. We pull her to the stand ourselves. Like, she doesn't want that. You found an object in the locker with Miriam Frege's nameplate on it. If you don't present what you found to the court, I'll have no choice but to pull the owner of that locker to the stand. That's ridiculous. We both know the locker in question belongs to Wallace Nightgrave. Can you unequivocally prove that, Miss Steelwind? Because the way I see it, there's a lot of room for doubt there. Enough doubt for me to pull Miss Frege onto the witness stand. But if I had more context, maybe I wouldn't have to resort to that. Well played, Cuthbert. Suppose I don't have a choice, do I? Just so we're clear, I wasn't acting to protect the nobility. But I'll admit that Miriam Frege was the other witness that saw Bellwether that day. I see. I had some suspicions, but there was also another matter. Steelwind looks uneasy. When I was investigating the body, I found this. Ooh. That's a way to get expelled. What the? Looks like Miriam's been cheating at school. But why would Bellwether have something like this? From the way it's arranged, I think it could have been blackmail. Miriam Frege is considered a prodigy in the practice of conjuration magic. What a litany of awards, and she will most definitely graduate with honors. If these files were to reach the public, it would absolutely ruin her reputation. Do you think that's that the professor is trying to threaten her? It appears so. When I discovered this, several of the elements of the case were still unknown. I decided to look through her belongings, and I mistakenly looked through the locker with her ID. I found this in the locker. It's stolen weeks prior, but it is an heirloom of her family. It's very likely that this is the murder weapon. This rapier is a very valuable family heirloom from House Frege. A few weeks ago, Miriam reported that the rapier had been stolen from her room. Then it was found in Wallace's locker. Not that I'm complaining, but why didn't you present this in court? To be honest, I'd like to avoid involving House Frege by any means necessary. I knew it! You're just protecting her, aren't you? Miss McCoy, do you recall how Wyverngard's justice system works? To acquit a defendant, you need to unequivocally prove that they didn't commit the crime. To do that, they either need a solid alibi, Or we need to prove that someone else committed the crime. What do you suppose will happen if you bring Miriam Frege onto the stand? House Frege won't allow one of its members to be indicted in a court of law. They'll plant and forge evidence to implicate your defendant. And they'll use the Inquisition to do so. So that's why you've been keeping them away from the investigation. Can't you do anything about it? The Steel ones are powerful too, aren't they? I don't have the support of my house. Right now, I'm just a prosecutor, nothing more. Steelwind, you know that this isn't fair for us. Just do nothing! Do nothing and let us win! Celeste, if we can't go after Miriam, can you at least help us save Wallace? I'm not going to do that. Why? What if Miriam Frege is the real killer? Her sword is the murder weapon and Bellwether was trying to blackmail her. I seem to recall another case where an innocent person's sword was used to frame them. That's... As a prosecutor, it is not my place to decide who's guilty and who's not. I won't engage in corruption, even if it's to counter corruption from another noble house. I'm sorry. Do you know where Miriam is right now? Didn't you hear what I just said? Can't let her think that there's even the slightest possibility you'll indict her. She'll bring the entire wrath of House Frege down on you. Regardless, I can't do anything for Wallace unless I know everything that happened. Frege has the last piece I need to put everything together. Well, I suppose I don't have much of a choice, do I? Her dormitory is room 107. I imagine she'll be there, considering classes are suspended. Thank you, Steelwind. If I don't tell you, I'm sure you'll probably just find out using some other means. But please, Mr. Cuthbert, be careful. It's interesting to have, like, this... I'm not gonna say friendliness going on here, but this, I guess, respect between prosecutor and attorney. Because, like, in Ace Attorney, we didn't get any of that by and large in the long term of that series. Like, the closest we sort of get is whenever it's Phoenix versus Edgeworth. Either towards the end of their respective games, or later on in their life. Because, like, Franziska would never be respectful, and that's part of the bit. Godot had personal reasons to hate you. I guess, actually, Gavin was pretty respectful towards the end of the day, but he was a much less serious character to begin with in terms of his general personality. Like, he took his job seriously, and he definitely, well, he called Apollo hair forehead for that entire fucking series. But, like, there was a lot more of a friendliness there. Black Quill was very antagonistic. So was Sadmati. And fucking Beric Van Zeeks was his own level. Follow Miss Steelman's directions and find Miriam Frege's dorm room. Wow, this place is fucking... Wouldn't let me into Wednesday Addams' dorm room. The door leading inside seems a lot more ornately decorated than the other dorms. Go to knock on the door, but you don't realize it's only partially closed. As your fist comes in contact with the wood, you accidentally push the door wide open. Excuse me, how dare you barge into my room? Sorry, I meant to knock, but... Construct, remove these hoodlums from my room. Acknowledged. The corner of the room, an arcane construct stands up and starts making its way toward you. Before you can protest, it raises its fist to hit you. You only have enough time to raise your arms and brace yourself for the impact. Close your eyes and wait for the blow. But instead, you hear a clang of steel against steel. Confused, you open your eyes and see Celeste standing between you and the construct. Her sword is drawn and she's using it to block the construct's fist. Upon taking closer inspection of Celeste, the student stares curiously at her. Construct, stand down. Acknowledged. I'm terribly sorry for that. I wasn't aware that this was your servant. Celeste looks angry and puts away her sword without a word. I haven't noticed you around campus. Are you a new student? What? You see an opportunity. Yes, my master just enrolled here recently. What? Celeste gives you the puzzled look, but you'll make a sound back. After a moment, she seems to realize what you're doing. Yes, I just started here. I take it you're Miriam Frege? Yes, I'm honored that you recognize me. Who does she remind me of? Like, I think it's specifically the eye and hair color that's doing it. Daydream from Reverie with Kurt in the Saint Estrella uniform comes to mind all of a sudden. Oh, but you know what? Also, yeah, the Ruby characters. And Esdeath, yeah. Actually, wow, I like the perfect triangle between those three characters. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Miss... I'm Celeste. Celeste catches herself and pauses for an awkward moment. Steelwind. I'm Celeste Steelwind. Can't believe her. There's no way she's going to believe. Steelwind? It's a pleasure to meet another member of such an esteemed house. Wait, she's actually buying this! I just moved in, and I thought I should introduce myself. Seeing as you're a top student in the field of conjuration. Conjuration. Yes. Well, there's no backing out now. It changed her name, too. That's great. Dresser probably contains Miriam clothes. It would probably be a bad idea to take a closer look with Miriam here. Table for guests, but it doesn't look like it's seen much use until now. Extravagant bed. It looks like Miriam lives pretty well here. Oh, wait.
Repario Arcanum.
Miss Frega, I was wondering if we could ask you some questions about... Excuse me, I don't believe anyone has permitted you to speak.
Here we go.
She's still smiling, but you can faintly hear her grinding her teeth together. So, we heard about what happened to Professor Bellwether. I can't believe it. Yes, it's quite tragic what happened to her. She's always been an acquaintance of House Frega. She appears to be more receptive to Celeste. Better to let her take the lead on the questioning. We heard that you saw her on the day of the murder? Could you tell us more about what happened? Oh, you heard about that from your relative, did you? If you don't mind me asking, why are you so interested? Oh, you know, I'm just curious is all. You know how an eventful life can be sometimes. Being a noble and all. Alright, tone it down. Oh, is that all? I was worried you were going down the same path as that poor, confused Arya. What does she mean by that? I'm in the middle of a study break anyway. I suppose I have some time to sate your curiosity. Armstrong, please prepare us some tea. Use that lotus tea we imported from the Eastern Kingdoms. Well... she's gonna like that.
Acknowledged.
That's another sound effect I need to have, just on a stream deck. Lotus tea? You have lotus juice? I feel like you're slowly losing control of the situation. I heard that you saw the professor on the day of the murder. Where did this happen? I was in the hallways when I saw her coming out of the headmaster's office. She was heading towards the library. Do you remember what time this happened? I'm not really sure, honestly. It's a little embarrassing, but I have a bad habit of getting too absorbed in my work. Sometimes I'll let entire hours pass by without noticing. Do you have a rough idea, at least? I think it was in the morning? He thinks it was in the morning. But anyways, did anything seem off about her? No, it was a short encounter. I merely greeted her and she responded in kind. Thought just now. What does that mean? Billy glances at Celeste and catch her attention. Small motions you shake her to indicate Miriam's holding something back. Were you and the professor really on good terms? I heard she was pretty mean towards the other students. Towards the riffraff, maybe, but not to students like us. She was a great ally to House Frega. That's why we were planning on appointing her as the new headmaster. Wait, what did you just say? Did you say your family was going to appoint Bellwether as the new headmaster? Oh, I'm surprised you didn't know. House Frega holds several seats on the Academy's board. We were making plans to have her replace that lout Redmond. We're going to sack the headmaster? Did Headmaster Redmond know about this? Oh, of course not. This was part of a large-scale plan. Along with Redmond, we were also going to replace all the staff members with arcane constructs. That tracks of what we learned earlier. We had to keep everything under wraps, or else the help would have left prematurely. And where would that leave us? And supposedly overhear Bellwether talking about the constructs. Did Bellwether prematurely reveal the plan, or was Jan lying about how he found out? But alas, with Bellwether gone, we had to delay our plans. based off her thoughts, maybe Bellwether was turning heel against the nobles to an extent, or at least like high power nobles. I do have to wonder, thinking about things like this, so like, I think I pondered this during the Ace Attorney games outright. How do you begin to write a case like this? Like, I guess maybe what you do is you write the story of particularly... sorry, I got distracted for a second. Of particularly probably the defendant and the culprit, as well as the corpse, for lack of a better word. Victim, that's the word I should have used there, actually. First. And then you probably connect it to other characters from outside of that to make the web. I wonder if they talked about that in like any like post-mortems for Ace Attorney games. Yeah, like, so-and-so murdered X because Y using Z, and blamed it on 3 because 4. So we heard that Arya took your rapier as evidence. Can you believe her? She still won't give it back to me. My father will have my head if I can't get it back soon. How did it even become a part of the investigation anyways? I don't know. Arya won't tell me anything. I swear that necromancer was the one who stole it. I'll execute him myself. Or someone did steal it from you. Yes, from right out of my room. When did this happen? About a few weeks ago? Noticed when I came back from one of my classes. Someone removed the rapier from its display case in my room. How'd they get into your room in the first place? You think someone used magic to teleport past the door? Please, I'm a master of conjuration magic. If someone attempted that, my enchantments would have shunted them out. This means the thief came through one of the doors or windows. I bet it was that necromancer. Sure, a street child like him just knows how to pick a lock. Resist killing. I heard that you're one of the Academy's top students. Your grades must be amazing. Of course, as the inheritor of House Frege, my grades are impeccable. That's strange. You don't see anything contradictory, though, with the eye this time. Make a gesture towards Celeste to continue pressing her. Oh, what kind of magic do you study here? You must be joking. I study magic from the School of Conjuration. Just like most members of my house? School of Conjuration. It's a type of magic that specializes in spatial manipulation and teleportation, right? Yes, I consider myself quite the expert in that field. Why, the Crown Prince himself has asked for my assistance in a research study. Again, you don't see any thoughts that contradict what she's saying. Yeah, like that few weeks ago line, that lines up with when the plans leak. So something's going on here, then. Because she seems pretty honest with all this. So, potentially... these could be falsified, maybe? Or at least maybe some of the stuff with plagiarism and fraud. Bribery I can still see potentially happening. Does that mean she's not lying? She's smart enough to get the Crown Prince's attention. Why would she be cheating? You said something about my wayward relative before. Are you talking about Arya? Oh, I'm terribly sorry if I offended you. I'm sure it must be pain you to see the way she's been acting lately. Yeah, it's been extremely hard. Hang in there, Celeste. You know that she even interrogated me about the murder yesterday? Can you believe it? A Steelwind running around a crime scene like a common knight? If I tried something like that, my father would disown me. Bill, do you not approve of Steelwind becoming a prosecutor? You always thought that it was strange. What is motivating her to do this? Well, see, she probably thinks she can do just about anything because of her betrothed. Aster? Celeste's eyes perk up upon hearing this. You'd be lying if you weren't also curious about who this Aster is. But you sure are starting to look that tells you to stay focused. Can't risk blowing your cover for some gossip. You have an arcane construct in your room? I thought they only had them in the library and the locker room. This construct was a gift from House Von Sanctus. I have to say, they're quite convenient to have around. They look really cool. Maybe I should get one. You should. A construct would be far more useful than this attendant of yours.
I'm a killer!
I get why they're probably not, but I kind of wish we got to see her surface level thoughts be like, say one more word, bitch, I dare you. Fortunately, there's still some issues with their intelligence. Their intelligence? There are issues when you give them complex commands. It might be easy to show you. Miriam turns to the construct and begins gesturing towards it. Construct, please retrieve my textbooks and bring them here. Then cast Steelman Strike at this location. After that, retrieve some plates and set them at this table.
Acknowledged.
What? Construct stands up and retrieves Miriam's textbook from one of the shelves in the room. Then brings them to the table you're sitting at just like she ordered. Then it stops moving. Wait, what happened? The construct obviously can't cast Steelman Strike, so my second command was impossible to carry out. But did you notice something else? It ignored your third command too. Correct, my third command was possible to carry out. So why did it ignore that command? Constructs execute a series of commands in the order that they're given. But let's say one of those tasks is impossible to complete. When the construct gets to that task, it will deem the entire series impossible to complete. So it runs on a literal chain of commands. That's new info about them. And that would also make them completely useless as staff until that got figured out. As a result, it will stop executing the series altogether. So if a task in a series of commands is impossible, then that command will interrupt the series of commands. Exactly. Lady Steelwind, I am afraid we must leave now if we want to make our next engagement. Oh, right. Let's go. Servant? Oh, leaving already? It was a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, sure. I hope to see you around. You make your way back to the foyer with Celeste. All the time you've spent, you only have a brief amount of time before night falls. Are you sure you didn't want to talk to her more? We were getting a lot out of her. We already got a lot of useful information out of her. The more time we spend with her, the more likely she is to see through our ruse. Right. So, why Steelwind? I don't know, I panicked. Arya's like the only noble I know. What about Pierce? I'm not using that creep's name. Well, hopefully Steelwind doesn't mind us borrowing her name. And we got her statement about what she saw on that day. And there's also what she said about her rapier. I bet she was lying when she said it was stolen. She's probably trying to establish an alibi. I'm not so sure. Why do you say that? Doesn't it feel too obvious? If she was lying about the rapier being stolen, that would imply she planned all this in advance. But if she had to choose a murder weapon, why would she choose something that was literally has her name on it? I'd understand if the murder was a spur-of-the-moment decision. She might have just used something nearby in this case. But if this was a premeditated murder committed by Miriam, that rapier would have been the last weapon she would choose. True, we don't know her origin. She could be a Steelwind. Right, I guess that makes sense. There's also the evidence of academic dishonesty. It doesn't match up with what we heard from Miriam. We know that stuff about working with the Crown Prince? She was probably just making things up to look good in front of me. I have an insight when it comes to things like this. Under normal circumstances, I can usually tell when someone's lying. And a lie as grandiose as that would have been something I could definitely see through. People can subconsciously shield themselves from the eye of Horus even if they don't know about it. When they do that, you usually can't see any thoughts from them. I also saw that she was lying about her encounter with Bellwether. You would have seen some dissonant thoughts if she was lying about her grades. Well, I guess I'll trust your insight. But what does this mean? I don't know. Even with everything we found, I'm still not sure who the real culprit is. At the very least, I think we should still try to put Miriam onto the stand. Yeah. I think I have an idea of how it got there myself. It probably involves the constructs, and honestly, the swapping of the nameplates. Because they could... if they are very limited in their intelligence to the point where they will fail a secondary command, they would probably just look for the ID number or whatever marks her locker as hers. And if that was on Wallace's at that point, that's why that would go in there. If she testifies in court, I might be able to find something I can use. But that's a big maybe. Don't play your cards right, you might spook the Fregas enough for them to pay off the judge. Either way, it's getting late. We'll probably have to turn in soon. Let's hope you did enough to acquit Wallace.
Court is now resumed for the trial of Wallace Nightgrave. Let us review the proceedings from yesterday. It was revealed that the trace of necromancy magic may have not been left by the defendant. It may have been left by a witness who used necromancy to attempt to heal the victim. However, the victim was seen by the witnesses well after her time of death. This can only be explained by the defendant using necromancy to animate the victim's body. This leaves the question, where did the murder take place? Does the prosecution have an answer for this?
Based on the testimonies of several witnesses, it is very likely the murder took place in the library.
Interesting. What led you to this conclusion, Miss Steelwind?
First, I'd like to remind the court where the victim was sighted before the body was found. It began when the victim had a meeting with the headmaster near the center of the building. This brings us to the statement of the next witness, a student at the academy. This student saw the victim walking in the hallways. I saw her coming out to the headmaster's office. She was heading towards the library. Which would mean our first witness saw Bellwether leave the headmaster's office. Presumably this would have happened after her meeting there. That would time this encounter at around 1 p.m. The other event is the discovery of the body, which was when Valentina Yanis contacted security. That we know was at about 3. So there's a 2-hour gap of nothing. Despite the fact we know for a fact she died an hour earlier than that. But the significance of this time is in what occurred before the body was discovered. The second witness, a member of the cleaning staff, spotted the victim in the West Wing hallway. This means that this encounter must have happened no later than 2:30 p.m. And this implies that the victim was near the library between 1 and 2:30 p.m. According to the defendant's statements, he was in the library during this time period. Furthermore, the time of death was at 2:07 p.m. This means that Mr. Hughes saw the victim's animated body.
I see, your deduction certainly tracks, Miss Steelwind. What do you have to say in your defense, Mr. Cuthbert?
The prosecution's argument is definitely well thought out, Your Honor. However, it is entirely predicated on the testimonies of all witnesses involved. Gilman's deduction has to have a hole somewhere. Conversation yesterday, you've had a feeling that Miriam is hiding something. Want to get the truth, you'll need to drag that out of her through a cross-examination. Your Honor, to test the validity of these claims, the defense would like both of these witnesses to testify. The defense calls Miriam Frege to the stand.
Frege!
Mention of her name, the judge's face turns a bit pale. I had a feeling it would come to this.
Do you have any objections, Miss Steelwind?
I do not, Your Honor.
Very well. Bailiff, please escort Lady Frege to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the... You little snakes! How dare you deceive me! Oh, it looks like she found out. I had the opportunity to debrief the witness beforehand. Miss McCoy, for the record, I told you to exercise discretion. I do not mean you should impersonate a member of my family. Yeah, sorry about that. I gave you all the tea that I imported from the Eastern Kingdoms. I demand that you return it to me. No, you gave them to me. They're legally mine now.
Him? I'm not sure what your business is, Miss McCoy, but I'd ask that you put your personal disputes outside the courtroom.
Anyways, Miriam, could you please testify to the court about your encounter with the victim? Very well. I was working on a research project in my dorm room when I decided to take a break. I left my room and went on a walk. That's when I saw Professor Bellwether exiting the headmaster's office. She was walking in my direction, so I greeted her and she responded in kind. For the love of Lotus! After that, she headed towards the library. A short time after that, I went back to my room and continued my work.
I see, so it was only a brief encounter.
However brief it was, the witness's testimony verifies two things. One is that Miss Frege saw the professor exiting the headmaster's office. The other is that she witnessed the victim head towards the library. This gives us a rough timeline of where the victim was before her death.
That does seem consistent.
Bellwether really entered the library that day? I feel like you would have seen her there if she did.
Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination.
If there's anything I can press, I feel like it's just statements.
Did anything seem off about her? No, but it was a very short encounter. Not as if we stopped to have a conversation.
You said that you greeted her, and she responded? What words did she use?
Why is that important?
Miss Frege, it's possible someone used illusion magic that day. Every detail about the victim's interactions could be important.
Well, I bid her good morning. And she said good morning in response.
That did update that.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking, because she was there, but maybe it's like how early she would have been at the library compared to when it would be relevant, I guess. Because she was there talking to us, even though they implied that was hours earlier, so that probably would have been sometime before noon at that point. Did you see her enter the library? I didn't, but there's not much else in that direction. From the testimony of Jan Hughes, we know that she later came from the library. Even if she didn't enter the library, she was still in that area for more than an hour. What I got is evidence.
Okay, I have a theory, but it's a long shot. Wasn't morning when that happened? The map also, you know what, actually that's a good point. Let's take a look at the map. Was more than just the library in that direction, because there is all of the classroom. Maybe she went down, maybe Miriam herself went down the hallway and either didn't see where she was there, or she literally turned into the library for a moment. That could be when she met us. I'll try that. Might as well. Can I save here? Okay. They're very weird on what they let you save in this one, I've noticed. Actually, wait, is the next one more damning about the library? No.
Objection!
Not that. I'm gonna try my theory. Because none of those are the morning anymore.
Objection!
Really? Miss Frege, if I recall correctly, you have a habit of getting absorbed in your work. So much so that you even lose track of time of the day. Yes, but what does that have to do with my testimony? Earlier in today's proceedings, the prosecutor made the following argument. Miss Frege, if you said good morning to the professor, you would have been mistaken. Because that encounter could have only happened during the afternoon. And your point is, you said it yourself, Mr. Cook. Witness simply lost track of time.
but the victim wouldn't have. What the witness said isn't what's important here. The significance is in what the professor said in response. She had just come out of a meeting that was scheduled for noon. She would be well aware that it was no longer morning. So why would she respond good morning? Wouldn't she have corrected the witness? I mean, personally speaking, I say good morning when I get out of bed, and that's usually at like 1 to 3 p.m., and my family responds with good morning. Their encounter was extremely short, and the victim's mind may be preoccupied. Could have easily responded to the witness without thinking. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of agree with her. It's not hard to believe that they were both confused about the time. Definitely a stretch. You still can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something. Every time you ask her about how Bellwether acted that day, the eye picks up something. There has to be something there. Miss Frege, you haven't been entirely truthful in your testimony, have you? That's absurd. What reason would I have to lie? Every detail about how she acted is important, Miss Frege. What aren't you telling us? Mr. Cuthbert, you have no basis to accuse the witness of perjury. Yes, you will stop this at once. Miss Frege, you're lying about how Bellwether responded to your greeting, aren't you? All she did was yell? Miss Frege, is it possible that Bellwether's response was less than friendly? What do you care? What difference does it make? My job is to make sure every part of your testimony is truthful. Every detail matters, no matter how seemingly insignificant. Mr. Cuthbert, you will stop this, or I will find you in contempt. The professor yelled at you, didn't she, Miss Frege? Coming out a little strong here, Tyrion. So what if she did? I mean... I'm sorry, but there's no going back on what you just said. So you do admit that she yelled at you? You impertinent little... Yes, I admit it. The professor didn't greet me back that day. Oh, good morning, Professor. Be quiet.
Yeah, that was badgering the witness.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's cases in, like, Ace Attorney, especially, where that happens. Usually you get called on it pretty quickly, though. She yelled at me to be quiet, but until then we had always been nothing but courteous with each other. I don't know what got into her that day, but something put her in a foul mood. But that's it. Everything else I said was the truth. I did see her come out of the headmaster's office and walk towards the library. I wasn't lying about it. So, is that all, Mr. Cuthbert? What do you mean, is that all? You badgered this witness. Also, you could prove what, exactly? The witness committed perjury? The witness changed a small detail of her testimony. A detail that is inconsequential to the case. It was clearly an act with no malicious intent. Seeing her thoughts, it's hard to disagree with that. So sure that the eye would lead you somewhere. Frege was only lying to save face. The witness saw the victim leaving the headmaster's office and head towards the library. Do you have any concrete evidence to refute that, Mr. Cuthbert? No, I suppose I don't. Wait, is this really okay? That's right, this will be the only chance you have to cross-examine her. I don't think she's lying anymore, and I was really pushing her luck earlier. If I continue pressing her, the judge might actually charge me with contempt. Miriam isn't the one that's lying, then. The defense has no further questions for the witness, Miss Steelwind. Prosecutor stays silent for a while. He almost looks disappointed. Very well, Miriam, you're dismissed. Miriam still looks like she's fuming, but she leaves the room without protest. The judge breathes a sigh of relief as the young noble is escorted out of the room. Now, with that out of the way, what else do you have, Mr. Cuthbert? On the way to refute the prosecutor's theories to cast down on one of the witnesses. If it wasn't Miriam, then, Steelwind, to test your theory, we must question every witness that saw the victim that day. So with that said, the defense would like to call Jan Hughes to the stand. I hope you understand, Mr. Cuthbert. Your entire case rests on the assumption that one of the witnesses' accounts is incorrect. If your cross-examination of Mr. Hughes leads nowhere, then I hope you're ready to concede. Don't like the sound of it. Right. Unless you can find something in Jan's testimony, you won't have anything to disprove her theory. Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Hughes. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the courtroom. Witness, name and occupation. All right. My name is Jen Hughes. I'm on the cleaning staff of the academy. Mr. Hughes, please testify to the court about your encounter with the professor that day. Sure. I saw the professor when I was cleaning the West Wing hallways. It was about 20 to 30 minutes before the body was discovered. She walked by me, but she looked pretty out of it. I heard she was undead when this happened. Pretty creepy, if you ask me. After that, she went into the empty classroom. Well, that was straightforward. Come on, Jan. What are we supposed to do with that? I don't know. You guys are the lawyers. I'm just telling you what I saw. Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. I am noticing he left out the vase incident, which is pretty important. But where would I press for that? Statements 2 and 4 feel most applicable. Did anything else look off about her? I mean, yeah, she wasn't undead after all. That remains to be proven. If you say so. Anyways, what was her demeanor like? She looked like she was in a bad mood. And though that, she was tired. Well, I guess she was just dead inside, literally. I won't lie, him yawning as a sprite is making me almost yawn. Why is that such an instinctive response from the human body? I believe you've forgotten a few details about what the professor did. Yeah? Sorry, it's hard to remember these things sometimes. What else should you ask him for? I mean, I feel like I should probably say all 3 of these. Here and near. Oh, okay. Did she touch anything? Oh, yeah. She knocked over a vase and shattered it. Might have been an accident, but she's done stuff like that on purpose before. This detail could be extremely important. Please add it to your testimony, Mr. Hughes. Whatever you say, man. I believe you've forgotten a few details what the professor did. Yeah, I might as well do it. Did you hear her make any sounds? Oh, yeah. After she knocked over the vase, she yelled at me to be quiet. I didn't even say anything. That's the exact same fucking thing she said to Miriam. But it replaces the previous thing that we added. Let's see what the final thing is, and then... Did she interact with you at all? Oh, yeah. I didn't notice her at first and accidentally got in her way. She showed me from the side and I kept walking forward. I feel like the most important one of the 3 is her saying be quiet, because that's the exact same thing. But what can we do with that? Assuming it's potentially an automaton. With maybe like an illusion spell cast over that. That could be a thing. What's fucking with me? Oh, yeah, the spell, yeah. Fucking animate corpse. Cannot speak.
Objection!
Mr. Hughes, you said that Bellwether yelled at you. What were her exact words? I think she yelled at me to be quiet. What? Thought it was weird, I didn't even say anything. But I know better than to talk back to her. That's the thing, Hughes. The prosecution's theory is as such. The professor was murdered in the library and was reanimated using animate corpse. Quick illusion spell, no one would notice if she was undead. However, if what you saw was truly the undead Bellwether, how did she speak to you? Huh? This doesn't make any sense. Mr. Hughes, undead can follow simple orders, but they don't have the intelligence to speak. Perhaps the witness was mistaken. No, I'm sure I heard her yell at me. I remember because what she said didn't make any sense. Exactly, he didn't say anything, but she still yelled at him to be quiet. Wait a minute. I'm afraid I don't understand. We've already established that the victim was dead long before her encounter with Mr. Hughes, but if what he said wasn't undead, what really was it? It had to be an undead. What other explanations is there? Couldn't have been a major delusion. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to shove Jan out of the way or knock over the vase. Whatever it was, someone probably used illusory disguise to make it look like Bellwether. Does that mean it was a person? No, if it was a person who had a body in a lecture hall. Bellwether wouldn't have been able to turn herself invisible if she was dead. And whatever Jan saw needed to be something that could have been transported with Bellwether's body unseen. It also needed to have mass and the ability to speak. Or at the very least, it needs to be something that can recreate Bellwether's voice. The constructs. Who could have done that? That's it! You have an answer for us, Mr. Cuthbert. What did the witness actually see? Your Honor, the witness didn't actually hear the dead victim speaking. What he actually heard was her voice being recreated using magic. Are you trying to say that her voice was recreated using a spell? Not a spell, Steelwind. It was artificery. And whoever the murderer is, they had the perfect piece of artificery to available to them. One program with Catherine Bellwether's voice. You can't possibly mean... That's right, Steelwind. What Mr. Hughes saw was an arcane construct. An arcane construct? Think of it as a magically animated suit of armor, Your Honor. But we ruled out such a possibility, hadn't we? Construct or not, no one could disguise themselves and carry the body to the classroom. A person wouldn't have been able to do it. But arcane constructs are a different thing entirely. Those suits of armor are extremely large, but more importantly, they're hollow. I see. That means that theoretically someone could have placed the victim's body inside it. The arcane construct wouldn't just transport the body. With an illusory disguise, it would also confuse and mislead anyone who saw it.
Objection!
I commend your deduction, Mr. Cuthbert. I would have never considered that a possibility. It's certainly plausible. What does this prove exactly? It proves that the body wasn't animated using necromancy. My client isn't the murderer. The defendant is still capable of performing all the acts that you described. His compendium contained illusory disguise, after all. There were several students in the library that day. Any of them could have committed the murder. One might come to that conclusion if they didn't have one crucial piece of evidence. I'd like to present a new piece of evidence to the court. Oh, fuck. Under her table, you see Miss Steele and pull out the bloody rapier. Blood, is that? Yes, Your Honor. This is the murder weapon. She was saving that for the perfect moment, wasn't she? This rapier was reportedly stolen by Miriam Frege weeks before the murder. And during the investigation, it was finally found in the defendant's locker. Wait! Clearly he was trying to use one of her possessions in a paltry attempt to frame her. Why, he even stole her locker's nameplate and placed it over his. Damn it, that's not what happened! And honestly, it sounds more plausible than what really took place. We're basically back to square one, aren't we? Anyone could have told that construct to do all those things. Wait, anyone? Is that really true? The construct transported the professor's body, and it used an illusion to make it look like her. They even used a pre-recorded voice to make the illusion more convincing. Could anyone have done that? It would have to be the headmaster. Right? Because only he can adjust the lines, so he could make new commands to make them do very specific things like this. And that room where the murder was, the smell is already there, so that could be covering something else we don't know about yet. I'm presenting him. That's not the right guy. I almost picked the wrong dude with gray hair and the exact same beard combo. Several memories flood back to you. No, it can't be him. What is it, Tyrion? Did you figure something out? I did? Is he seriously the one behind all this? Miss Steelwind earlier said that my client could have orchestrated the entire ruse. But that's simply not true. How so? Anyone could have ordered the construct to carry out the victim's body. Yes, but not everyone can change what constructs are able to say. Only one individual has the credentials for that. Theodore Redmond, headmaster of the Imperial Academy. Wait, you're not serious, are you? You think the headmaster did all this? I don't want to believe it, but he's the only person who could have done it. Yeah, I'm very curious what they're building up to with Eris, because if they're building up to something big with her, and they definitely are, I think this is the earliest one of these a game like this that I've played has done that. Well, actually, I guess barring maybe Dual Destinies and I guess Spirit of Justice. Because by and large, a lot of the Ace Attorney likes, like, there's a main plot usually going on in the background, but you only get maybe like 1 or 2 details in the earlier cases. And then a lot of the big buildup is in like case 3, 4, and 5. That's completely ridiculous. Headmaster Redmond would never do something like this. Miss Steelwind, there's one common element between each of the witnesses' encounters with Bellwether. It's what Bellwether said to them. She yelled at both of them to be quiet. Miriam Frege was particularly surprised. She had a good relationship with the professor. But when they greeted by the professor, Bellwether just shouted at her, almost as if the professor was responding indiscriminately. And recall her encounter with Jan Hughes. The professor knocked over a vase and shouted at him to be quiet immediately after, even though he hadn't said anything. She was responding to the sound of the vase breaking. Now let me ask you this, Steelwind. Where did Bellwether come from before she encountered Miss Frege and Miss Hughes? Her meeting with the headmaster. It appears that the defense truly means to indict Theodore Redmond. If so, we have no choice but to take a brief recess until he can be brought here. There's no need. Fortunately for you, I'm already in the gallery. The headmaster stood up from the gallery seats behind you and slowly walked to the witness stand. Has he been here the entire time? Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cooper, but do you think I am the one who committed this crime? I'm sorry, Redmond, but no matter how I look at everything I've found points to you. No, there's no need to apologize. In fact, I should commend you on the lengths you're going to defend dear Wallace. The court appreciates your understanding, Mr. Redmond. Now then, to clear the air, I suppose I should give my testimony to what happened that day. That day, I had a meeting scheduled with the professor at noon. She showed up at the expected time and we discussed various administrative matters. Our meeting went on for about an hour, after which she left to prepare for her next class. Despite our many disagreements, we still knew how to be civil with one another. After all, I had no reason to bear a personal grudge against you. Yes, you did. I just can't see it. He seems like such a nice person. Is he really the person we're looking for? He has to be. No one else could have orchestrated this entire plot. Find out how and why. What was the piece of evidence that had, like, potentially replacing the staff, let alone him? Yeah.
Objection!
Redmond, did you really hold no animosity towards Professor Bellwether? Of course not. I did have strong opinions about her methods of teaching, but I always remained professional. We both did. Frankly, I find that hard to believe. In fact, I think you might have had a very good reason to murder the professor, considering that she was going to take your job. What? So you knew about that? I'm sorry, but I don't follow. Just how was the professor going to take the headmaster's job? According to Miriam Frege, Catherine Bellwether was currying favor with the noble families. In fact, there was a plan to oust Redmond and appoint Bellwether as the new headmaster of the academy. What? But in any case, I doubt that the headmaster had any idea of this until now. I'd like to remind the court of the witness's reaction just now. He said, so you knew about that. His reaction was one of surprise. But he wasn't surprised by this information. He was surprised that I knew this information. That's... Please, dear Arya. Oh, fuck, Grandpa's pissed. I may be a frail old man, but I'm perfectly capable of defending myself. you have an explanation, Mr. Redmond, then by all means, I'd love to hear it. Gladly. It is true that I knew about the Frega's plot beforehand, but I had only just learned about it. On the day of the murder, the professor told me about her plan. She was going to replace me as the headmaster and replace the staff with her arcane constructs. But we know she was, there was leaks of that weeks ago. Now, you might say this would give me the perfect motive to murder the professor. However, the supposed murder weapon was stolen from Miss Frege. This happened weeks before the murder and my discovery of the professor's treachery. I had no knowledge of the plan before she told me, and therefore I wouldn't have known to steal Miss Frege's weapon in an attempt to frame her. Are you satisfied now, Mr. Cuthbert? There is no way that the headmaster could have come up with this plan. If he really did do this, that means that he stole the rapier too, right?
Most likely.
His alibi makes sense. He couldn't have planned this whole thing unless he knew about Bellwether's plans. That would mean he knew about this weeks ago. But how did he even find out? Best way to tell a convincing lie is to leave a lot of truths and change only one detail. Maybe Miss Bellwether did tell him. She told him weeks ago. Question is, how do you prove that? Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. Yeah, if I present the fact of us knowing weeks ago, it would have to be here, I guess. Because it wouldn't be on the day of the murder. That was back here. Yeah, in fact, Jan even said that you knew about it weeks ago.
Objection!
Redmond, you keep saying that you didn't know about Bellwether's plot before yesterday. You still plan on standing on that claim? Of course I am, because it's the truth. I'm sorry, Redmond, but you should really close your doors during your meetings.
What?
It is true that Bellwether revealed her plan to you during one of your meetings. In fact, Jan Hughes happened to overhear that same meeting. But he only overheard the part where the staff would be replaced. And that's the strangest part, Redmond. According to Mr. Hughes, this meeting occurred weeks ago. You can't accuse the headmaster of perjury based on a rumor. Everything you've just said is based on secondhand information. Mr. Hughes distinctly overheard the staff would be replaced with arcane constructs. That is too specific and too accurate to assuming he misheard a different conversation. The professor probably only revealed her plan for the arcane constructs. That still doesn't prove that he knew about her treachery beforehand. Professor Bellwether had no authority over the cleaning staff's employment. It wouldn't make sense for her to just reveal her plan for the arcane constructs. That would only make sense if he knew Bellwether would be taking his job. So tell me one thing, Redmond. Why did you find the need to lie about this? Is it because you saw a need to protect yourself from my accusations? Redmond, I asked you a question. Did you murder Catherine Bellwether? That is not the question you asked me.
Oh, fuck.
What a fine mess this is. Headmaster? So you truly plan on pushing this, are you? Well, your thesis sounded promising, Mr. Cuthbert. I believe your arguments could use a little work. You think I killed Catherine Bellwether? Me? I'm an elderly man in his late 80s. I can barely walk, much less wield a rapier. But what if you had an arcane construct? Because you could order them to stab her, let alone fight her. But you and Bellwether weren't the only people in that room, were you? You needed the arcane construct to carry Bellwether's body. That means the construct would also have already been in your office. And with your privileges, you could have easily reprogrammed the construct to stab Bellwether for you. Even so, think about what would have transpired afterward. Recall Miss Steelwind's timeline of Bellwether's witnesses. With your theory, the construct would have spent more than an hour in the library. Having it there would have risked my so-called ruse from being discovered. Lady Frege can't tell me from this. I don't think we have any evidence that can go against that. He's pissed and afraid, and that doesn't go against that, so I think I have to intuition this. The timing deduced from Miss Frege's testimony was predicated on one thing. You saw Miss Bellwether exit your office after your meeting. However, if we assume you're lying about when this meeting ended, your entire argument falls apart. Miss Frege would have encountered Bellwether after her death at 201. Miss Frege couldn't make a mistake like that. Miss Frege thought it was morning when she saw Bellwether. She can't reliably tell the time. Then what about where the rapier was placed? If I really was the murderer, then that would mean I planted the weapon in young Wallace's locker. Several of the students had lockers that I had access to. Wallace is one of my prized students. If I had to frame anyone, he would be the last person I chose.
Alright, what can I present against that?
He was trying to frame Miriam. You're right, Mr. Redmond. You wouldn't try to frame Wallace, but you would try to frame Miriam Frege. It would have been the perfect act of revenge, wouldn't it? You murder your treacherous coworker and frame the daughter of the family that helped her. But something went wrong, didn't it, Redmond? The labels in Wallace's locker and Miriam's locker were switched. Anyone who saw that would have easily mixed them up. I am the headmaster of the Imperial Academy. I have no records of all this. I have records of all the students' lockers and where they're located. If I truly planned this, I would have known where Wallace's locker was. A simple change in the labels wouldn't have led me to make a careless mistake like that. But it would lead the constructs to that. But it wasn't you, was it? Your arcane construct is the one who planted the rapier in the locker. I bet you commanded it to place this rapier in the locker of Miriam Frege. But it saw the ID number on Wallace's locker and assumed that it was Miriam's. This is... Redmond begins desperately stammering, looking for anything to say. Steal and say something. What? Mr. Cuthbert, your theory may be plausible, but there's no evidence to support it. Huh, that's right, you don't have any proof, do you? Saying that I could have committed the murder isn't the same as proving I did it. Wait, yes there would be. Every command is stored. But would I present the arcane constructs themselves for this, or the one that he gave the command to? I mean, I guess let's start specific, and in case we have to be vague, we go vague. Because so far they haven't, like, given me game overs for getting stuff wrong. Just in case I can't save right now. Let's start specific then. Your arcane construct is still in the locker room where I planted the rapier. All we have to do is take a look inside it and we'll see blood inside. Is that so, Mr. Cuthbert? What? Why does he still look so confident? No, Mr. Cuthbert. I already checked the inside of that construct during my investigation. The interior was completely clean. What? The construct's primary function is to assist and clean, dear Tyrion. They have a function that allows them to clean themselves inside and out. Well, we can still look at its command history, right? Think about it, Mr. Cuthbert. Do you honestly think the murderer would leave evidence behind like that? Or that whoever orchestrated this plot, they ordered the construct to wipe its logs and it finished? No. That's right, Mr. Cuthbert. Your case against me is theoretical at best. I suppose I can still give you marks for trying. Damn it, he thought of everything. Is he seriously able to get rid of all the evidence? Running out of options. But you still have one tool left. Oh, it's unbecoming to glare like that, young Tyrion. He's doing it again? Bring yourself back to that moment with Garrett Pierce. Think about what's at stake for Wallace, just like you did with Celeste. His life and his future are in your hands.
Naught can remain concealed.
I know Tyrion's eyes are already yellow, but whenever this happens, I just imagine, like, his iris moving around like it's a camera lens. Redmond did a good job of covering his tracks, but there has to be something he forgot to get rid of. Alright, what can we project in? The showering gun. I to be something related to the constructs. Their fuck up.
Construct's orders were clear. Plant the body in Lecture Hall 2B and plant the evidence in Frega's locker. Supposed to head to the storage room afterward. What happened?
Saying the contract wasn't supposed to be in the locker room. So that means it wasn't meant to be in the locker room, so it being there is a fuck up.
The contract locker room, though. Shouldn't have been there if it followed my... Does he not know about the flaw? No matter, it wiped its logs. Nothing on me.
It ordered to wipe its logs. In order to cover all of its tracks, it probably would have done this last. Wait, he ordered the contract to go to the storage room? Would have been done after they was finished planting the evidence in the locker room. Found it in the locker room. Stopped it from leaving. So that means something either blockaded it or otherwise. Yeah, the logic itself. But what's preventing the logic from completing? Oh, that might do it. Right, the body was reported earlier than Redmond expected. This means he probably started the lockdown before the contract was finished in the locker room. Does this change anything? Interrupted is the best choice of word there. Right, the series of commands would have been interrupted. Wait a minute. Construct's final command was to wipe its memory. But if its orders were interrupted by the lockdown, then... Miss Steelwind, I have nothing more to ask this witness. What? You're not giving up, are you? Do you even have to ask? Yeah, I thought so. How are you going to prove he did if he's not testifying? Don't worry, the next witness's testimony will be all I need. Next witness? That look on your face isn't one of defeat. Just, what are you planning? Oh, it's nothing but desperate bravado. Now, if you'll excuse me. You've let your quarry get away, Mr. Cuthbert. Hope you know what you're doing. I do, Miss Steelwind. First, I'd like for the Inquisition to bring the arcane construct in the Academy's locker room. We've already established the murder could have wiped its history. Please just humor me this time, Miss Steelwind. Very well. Bailiff, please relay Mr. Cuthbert's request to Commander White. Well, here's your construct. Know what you're doing, Mr. Cuthbert. Construct!
What are your orders?
Please recite your command history.
Reporting. Command 1, stand by in Headmaster's office. Command 2, await vocal signal, attack from Theodore Redmond.
You hear Redmond stand up from the gallery. Seeing this, the prosecutor watches him and carefully clutches the handle of her cane.
Command 3, treat Catherine Bellwether as hostile entity and neutralize.
Construct, wipe your... Huddle! Before he can finish his sentence, the prosecutor points her cane at the headmaster. Magical energy shoots from him and it collides directly with him. Also, I feel like him screaming that would also just implicate him immediately. You know? The magic reads around his body and stops him from moving. He's clearly trying to struggle against it, but it looks like he can't even move his mouth. Miss Steelwind! Excuse the interruption, please continue.
Command 4, await vocal signal leave from Theodore Redmond. Command 5, move to Classroom 2B, reply to any increase with voice line number 3. Command 6, remove Catherine Bellwether from interior frame and place on floor.
Thank you, Construct. You can stop now. I think we all know the rest. But just to be clear, who gave you the series of commands?
Commands were provided by Headmaster Theodore Redmond.
How? Construct to wipe its command history. Mr. Redmond, constructs don't follow the same logics that humans do. They're prone to error when their commands are impossible to execute.
Impossible? In what way were my commands impossible?
You were the one that made it impossible. You activated the lockdown system.
Lockdown.
The body was found earlier than you'd like. You had no choice but to immediately activate the lockdown system when it was reported. However, the construct was still in the locker room when you did this, so that's why it was there. The construct finished its tasks in the locker room, but then it tried to follow your next command. It tried to move to the storage room, but it was prevented from doing so. Completion of that command was impossible, so the series of commands was stopped before it wiped its history.
Little.
Oh, Theodore Redmond, you ordered your construct to murder Catherine Bellwether. You then had it place the murder weapon in the locker to frame Miriam Frege. And we have your construct's testimony to prove it. And that's checkmate. I can't believe it. How could you do something like this, Headmaster? He was going to take everything from me. My position, my academy, my students. Everything was gone. It was going to be stolen by her and the Fregas. Why didn't you say anything to me? I could have... Dare stand there and act ignorant, Lady Steelwind. Do you think the Fregas acted alone? Your father was a part of this plot too. What? I have nothing to say to you. I thought you were different. I listened to your lies about societal reform. In the end, it's like the rest of the aristocracy. By the scared lord, what have done? I was even willing to sacrifice poor Wallace. I can't believe why did I listen? Why did I do the... Heiress, get the fuck over here!
Yes, we have a full confession. Court sees no reason to prolong this any further. Bailiff, please escort the witness to a holding cell.
Mr. Cuthbert, you really did it! This feels amazing, right? Like a big weight being lifted from your shoulders? It does, but I can't believe the headmaster was the one who did this. Right, despite everything Redmond did, he was the one that allowed Wallace to pursue his dreams. I'm sorry. I'm sure this is bittersweet for you. But what am I going to do now? Headmaster Redmond was the only reason I could even attend the academy. With him gone. Come on, don't think like that. You gotta quit it. I'm sure it'll all work out. You want to agree, but necromancy is basically taboo. Without Redmond's support, there aren't many places he could learn it legitimately. And then there's the Imperial Academy. Hey, don't you get all sad on me, too. Sorry, I was just thinking, with Redmond gone, the Fregas will probably just appoint another sycophant as the headmaster. Valentina, Valerie, and Jan, they're all going to lose their jobs. Come on, you found the truth and you put a murderer behind bars. You saved Wallace. She's right. As you start to exit the courtroom, you're greeted by Miss Tamora. She in the gallery this entire time? At the end of the day, you saved Wallace from a wrongful conviction. You should be proud of yourself for that. I suppose you're right, but maybe I am just overthinking things. Right? Doubt still lingers in your mind. Now come on, I'm taking Wallace to that restaurant we went to last time. Do you remember how much that place cost? Don't worry, I have plenty of gold. Am I the only one this team not making any gold? Why don't you meet us there, Celeste? I need to talk with Tyrion for a moment. Alright. Let's go, Wallace. Okay. You activated the Empowered Eye again, didn't you? It doesn't appear to be praising you. I did. Didn't really have a choice. The Eye of Horse is a powerful tool, Tyrion. That's twice I've used the Empowered Eye to get out of a tough spot. You can't keep relying on it if you want to grow as an attorney. One day you'll find a witness that the Empowered Eye won't work on. I feel like this is foreshadowing for things that are clearly building. It's working me this far, though. But I suppose you're right. I'll try to rely on it less next time. And that marked the end of another case in my career as a defense attorney. Another life saved, another murderer brought to justice. I still couldn't shake this feeling of uneasiness. Was it guilt for what happened to the faculty staff? Was it something else? Man, Steelwind's been talking with the perp for hours. What's there even to ask at this point?
Turns out she doesn't trust his testimony. Something about his memories not matching up with the crime scene.
I don't think he has Mage Blight, does he? No, it's not that. Damn symbol etched desk. What did she call it? The purple mark? Oh, for the love of... Not this again! Look, if the little lady wants to chase the boogeyman, just let her. At least this time she's doing it personally instead of dragging us into it. Fast sleep. Hey! What's up? Who did this to your desk?
What has gotten into you? I've already admitted to everything. What more could you possibly want from me?
Where did this graffiti come from? What is this symbol? What is the purple mark? I don't know. A student must have done it at some point. Think very hard, Headmaster. When did you receive this purple symbol? Focus on the moment you received this.
Wait a minute. Remember it now. But how? Lady Steelwind? Lady Steelwind! Arya, what happened? Are you okay?
That was close. My elation over meeting him almost made me forget.
Eris, what are you doing here? Why? Wait, I remember now. It was you. You put those ideas into my mind. You're the one who told me to murder Bellwether.
Oh, you humans never fail to amuse me. I didn't make you do anything. Everything you did that day, all the planning, all the preparation, that came from your own mind. And I have to say, I was quite entertained with the scheme you came up with. Why, you even broke into Miriam's room. I didn't know you had it in you, old man.
You made me forget about our conversation, but how? Illusions can't affect the mind, magic can't affect the mind.
Shame, though. I would have much rather turned Wallace into the antagonist of this chapter. Could you imagine if he turned? It would have been spectacular. Armies of the undead running rampant in the streets. But alas, even I couldn't corrupt his pure soul.
Answer me, who are you? What are you?
Who am I? Lord of the Sixth Circle.
Ah!
Well. I'm glad they're not playing around. They're not being coy. We just need to figure out what the fuck's going on with that. Oh boy. Alright, time for cast 3, The Origins of Horror. Wow, we are going into that way earlier than I thought we would. I would figure, well, I guess that they're name dropping in the last case. Oh shit, a parent?
I'm sorry, Tyrion. So many things I wanted to tell you, so many things I wanted to show you. Afraid I can't do that now. I need you to be strong now. This world is bleak, merciless, and unforgiving. I've seen you. I know how bright the light is within you. Use my eyes. Peer beyond the divine gate as I once did. To reclaim the future.
Preposterous, completely and utterly preposterous. Is something wrong, Lord Bound Sanctus? Okay, we're dealing with one of the major house members then.
You filthy rat! You cheated, didn't you? That's right, you're a cheat and a charlatan.
Do you have any evidence to prove that ridiculous claim?
I mastered chess before you could crawl out of whatever rat hole you came from. Do you honestly expect anyone to believe that you could defeat me?
Honestly, I'm just as disappointed as you are. I was expecting more of a challenge from House Von Sanctus. I suppose all the gold in the world can't buy you a modicum of skill.
You little upstart, I'll...
Von Sanctus's acquaintance clears his throat and gestures subtly to the crowd of spectators. Everyone's attention's on him, and you can see the crowd muttering amongst themselves. His undignified behavior probably isn't doing any favors for his public image. Realizing himself, he tries to regain his composure.
It's preposterous.
He walks away, muttering the word preposterous under his breath a few more times. It sounds like he's trying to reassure himself more than anyone else. So, that was something. Yeah, I knew that he'd get angry, but I didn't expect him to make a scene like that. Well, you did insult him. Not to say he didn't deserve it. Ah, come on, I love seeing these conceited nobles lose their minds when I beat them. It's half of the fun of playing these tournaments. Wow, where's this confidence when we're in the courthouse? Court cases are different. I have to deal with real-world elements during a trial, and that includes Prosecutor Steelwind. Prosecutor Steelwind, huh? Wonder if she plays chess. Now there's a thought. You wonder if she'd be willing to play against you sometime. Can't be any worse than these pampered nobles. Anyway, we should celebrate somewhere in town. Even if he was a pushover, you just beat one of the top-ranked chess players in the kingdom. To be honest, you had your reservations about returning to the city of Orinox. Orino? Depends if that's French or not, I guess. If you weren't facing one of the four pillars, you would never have come back here. You'd rather leave the city as soon as possible. I saw a cafe while we were walking around. The food smelled great. I'd really like to go there. You could always go to one of the cafes in the capital. There's plenty of places to choose from there. Trust me, I've traveled around the world. There's nothing better than the food from a thriving port city. Alright, I suppose there's no harm in staying alone. He does have a point. The city streets seem livelier than when you last saw them. I see a lot of businesses that weren't here before, and they all seem to be very well off. Despite being a port city, Orino used to look like a ghost town. Has the local nobility been investing in the city? You find that possibility very hard to believe. You arrive at the cafe that Celeste told you about. As you enter, you're struck by a powerful aroma from freshly baked pastries and coffee. The scent of the baked goods swirls around you. You take a moment to inhale the enticing scents. You'll have to admit that it's making you very hungry. So, you seek to enter the domain of the Deathbringer songstress. Well, if glory is what you seek, then look no further. For you stand before... Masurika? Masaurika? Masurika. Tudor, Dark Lord of the Orino. As you head further into the cafe, you're approached by a familiar face. Rika, is that you? It appears that my reputation precedes me. How good of you to... Wait, you're... Tyrion? You're back! Hi. Chuny merchant got you, right? Why didn't you tell anyone that you were back in town? Do you have any idea how worried we've all been? Do you two know each other? Right. Celeste, this is Masurika Tudor. I was friends with her when I lived here many years ago. Wait, you used to live here? Yeah, Orino is actually the town I grew up in. What? But you were in such a hurry to leave before. Came here to eat, right? If you're still hungry, I can bring you some of our best dishes on the house. No, I couldn't possibly. Come on, don't be like that. It's been years since I've seen you. You know how good my food is. Okay, but only for a little while. Rika sets a table for the three of you and calls over a waiter. You all place your orders. Ooh, hold up a second, gotta respond to a DM real quick. By that, I also mean I realized I'm still following someone I meant to unfollow on Twitch after some stuff happened. Where is there's the unfollow button. There we go. Now tell me everything. I want to know all about what you've been doing since you left. This table looks really well made. You like it? I commissioned a local carpenter to have my tables custom made. It was probably worth it. They fit with the humble and rustic vibe you got going on here. Rika seems to have decorated the entire cafe with several plants and flowers. Greens add a fresh and earthy ambiance to the restaurant. There are some barrels stacked in the corner here. I wonder what's inside. Wait, Rika, you wouldn't have to have lotus juice, would you? Lotus juice? What's that? Never mind. What happened to the lotus juice that you received from Miriam? I drank all of it. Already? It hasn't even been a month. A shelf full of drinks, mugs, and sugar behind the restaurant counter. This must be where Rika's employees prepared coffee to be served. So, are you gonna introduce us? Right. This is Celeste McCoy. She's my bodyguard. Bodyguard? And Celeste, this is... Ha! As if I need such introductions. I am Soraka Tudor, Dark Lord of Orno, High Archmagus of the Cadmium Flames, and the proud proprietor of this cafe. Oh. Okay. I was friends with her when I used to live here. She's a little eccentric, but she's a good person at heart. Hey! She's also a common folk mage like you. Ah, so you've come from the same humble beginnings that I do. Which spells have you mastered? I haven't really mastered any of them. I know about 7 spells, though. 7? These aren't even more spells? Picking them up rather quickly. I've been usurped! Look at you, Mr. Big Shot. You're wearing a suit now, and you even have a bodyguard. Did you get an office job in the big city?
Something like that.
I'm actually a defense attorney now. A defense attorney? I see. Is that why you left town with that scary lady? Scary lady, are you talking about Ruby? Miss Tamora adopted me when my mother passed several years ago. After that, she began training me to become an attorney like her. Wait, you've been studying to be an attorney since you were a kid? Well, I guess that explains why you're so young for a lawyer. Said the 19-year-old mercenary. Yeah, I guess you got me there. Are you the owner of this cafe, Rika? You always spoke about opening one when we were kids. Yep, and it's all thanks to the Dracogen Trading Company. The company's owner invested in my business idea after trying my food. Because of him, I was able to open up here, just like I always dreamed. Dracogen Trading Company, I don't think I've heard of them. They're pretty small right now, and they're only operating in Orono. I guess it wouldn't be Orono, huh? Because that would be AUX. So I guess it is Oronox. But I hear they're planning to expand their operations throughout Wyverngard. But I would have thought that Lord Sanctus would have weeded out any competition. After all, he owns one of the largest businesses in the kingdom. Right? Like, we're surrounded by young savants, seemingly. Lord Von Sanctus, isn't he that pompous noble I beat in the chess tournament this morning? Wait, that was you? I didn't even know he was a businessman. Von Sanctus Industries invented those arcane contracts we saw at the Imperial Academy. How do you not know about these things? You practically fight against nobles for a living. Maybe you should start reading more about national politics? That's meant to be towards Tyrion. I really don't get why the internal thoughts are from a second-person perspective. Is it just me, or does the city look less depressing than before? Oh, right, you left the city before the new merchants appeared. New merchants? Like from a merchant's guild? Yeah, the Dracogen Field Trading Company was one of the first ones. Why was I about to say Fielding Company? They started operating here and brought the Arcane Refinery a few years ago. After that, merchants from all over Wyverngard started coming here. Well, being based in a port city would definitely give them an edge. And their presence really helped the city's economy. They aren't owned by the nobility, and they pay their employees a lot more than Von Sanctus does. It's really improved the quality of life for people here. I doubt Von Sanctus appreciates the competition, though. There's even talks about... Let's fucking go! There's even talk about forming employee-run unions. Oh, Von Sanctus definitely won't appreciate that. So, you still play chess? Yeah, I'm nationally ranked, too. I heard that an upstart commoner defeated Lord Von Sanctus in a tournament this morning, but I had no idea they were talking about you. Upstart commoner? Name suits you, Tyrion. Hey, do you still do that thing when you play? No. What thing? Nothing, she's not talking about anything. Wait, you're actually embarrassed about it? When we were kids, you did it even more than I did. Oh my god, did she become Chuny because she was friends with Tyrion? What? What did he used to do? Why don't you show her, Tyrion? I'd rather not. Come on, show us, Tyrion.
Julie, do the thing. I think I'm a little too old for this.
You're never too old to tap into your inner dude. Well, at least she admits it. Do it, Tyrion! Yeah, do it! Two of them begin chanting, trying to pressure you. It draws the attention of the other patrons in the cafe. Don't seem to care about the confused looks that they're getting. You don't have much choice. Take in a deep breath. Those who stand in the shadows, those who fear the light of divinity. Your Imperials will fall and your armies will perish. Kneel and cower before the divine gaze of the Eye of Horus. They're trying their hardest to contain their laughter. Well, that's why I don't do it anymore. No, that was great. It really was cool, Tyrion. Her poorly contained laughs are coming out from between each word. And why are you laughing? You were just doing it a moment ago. Yeah, but she owns it. Used to say something else before, too. I won't let anyone stand in my way, even if they're a man, king, or god. Yeah, that's it. He still says that sometimes. Oh, looks like our order is here. The waiter brings the lunch special for each of you. The enticing aroma of the meals makes you salivate a little. You gladly devour the meal. Rika's cooking was just as delicious as you remembered. You spend some more time catching up with her before you finish your meal. As your conversation continues, you and Celeste regale her with stories of your past court cases. No, really? Yep, it turned out that there was the headmaster the entire time. Wow, I would never have figured that out. How'd you know, Tyrion? Maybe he saw it with his Eye of Horus? She knows too much. You nearly choke in your drink before you realize what she's actually referring to. Oh, wow, I can't believe it. I never thought court cases could be that dramatic. So far, they haven't even topped Ace Attorney, I've got to be honest, Rika. You finish your meal as you continue to tell Rika more about your cases. It's nice being able to talk with her again. Tried so hard to leave everything behind after what happened. But happy that she seems to be doing it. Well, it's been nice catching up with you, Rika. But I think it's time for us to get going. What? But we just got here. It's okay, I'm sure you had a pretty busy nowadays. You are pretty busy nowadays. I won't keep you any longer. But be sure to write, okay? Don't just go and disappear like last time. Yeah, I'll stay in touch. You'd better. You exit the cafe and make your way to the local Merchants Guild to rent a carriage. The city streets are a bit more crowded than usual. A little difficult to make your way through them. Hey, Tyrion? Yeah? Celeste is fidgeting with her hands. Looks like she wants to say something, but when she starts to speak, she quickly stops herself. This happens a few more times before she seems to give up. Never mind. It's nothing. Okay? You both continue to walk silently as you make your way to the Merchants Guild. As you make your way there, the streets become more and more crowded. You hope the traffic won't interfere with the ride home. Hi, can we rent a carriage for travel to Ratholme? Sorry, but travel outside the city is temporarily closed. What? Why? Haven't you heard? The Knights of the Kingsguard have locked down the city. Set up a blockade and everything. Check the city gates if you don't believe me. As you arrive at the city gates, you see a blockade that the merchant was talking about. A crowd of disgruntled townsfolk are angrily shouting at the knight stationed there. This is outrageous! How long do you plan on keeping us here? Sorry, but we have our orders. We can't let anyone outside the city until our investigation's complete. There's an investigation? Did something happen? Can you at least tell us what's going on? Why is the entire city being blockaded? Sorry, sir, we're not allowed to release that information. You'll just have to make other arrangements while we sort this out. Actually, I haven't seen you two around before. We need to take down your names and occupations for our records. What? Why? It's fine, Celeste. We're better off just cooperating with them. Invasion of privacy, but you'd rather not resist orders from the Kingsguard. I'm Tyrion Cuthbert. I'm a defense attorney. Fine. I'm Celeste McCoy, bodyguard. Thanks. So they go over to the other Kingsguard. They seem to be taking notes of the people, too. They must be making a list of everyone inside the city. What reason? I have an important engagement tomorrow. Who does this generic nobleman sprite look like? Alucard, maybe? What am I supposed to do now? This can't possibly be legal. Townsfolk continue shouting at the knights. But it's clear they won't be budging anytime soon. What do we do now? Notice that it's starting to get late. You don't know how long the city will be blockaded. Go find a place to stay overnight just in case. You walk into a nearby tavern, see it absolutely crowded with patrons. Looks like everyone have had the same idea. Hey, welcome to the Agwin Tavern. What can I do for you? Can we get 2 rooms for the night? Sorry, can't even spare 1. We're completely full with the blockade mill. Wait, let me take care of this. Liz takes out a large pouch of gold and plops it on the innkeeper's desk. Well, would you look at that? One of our rooms just opened up. Only one? Hey, the entire city's locked down. Even with your gold, that's the best I can do for you. What, embarrassed to share a room with me, Tyrion? No, it's just... I realize that she's teasing you like she usually does. Best not to give it any mind. Well, it's better than nothing. So, how should we... Oh, I was just kidding before. You can have the bed. I'll just sleep on the floor. What? At least take the chair. I can't just let you... Please, we may both be commoners, but you live a cushy life in the city. I'm a mercenary. I've lived on the road for years. I sleep like this all the time. Got you there. Alright, but tell me if you change your mind. Yeah. Hey, I didn't see you there. I was just walked past him. What? Hey, watch it! Quit shoving me! Wait, whoa! Holy crap, pull me up! I can't hold on for much longer! Hey, what are you doing? What? Grab his arm and pull him up. Ah, my hand! What the hell are you doing? Your grip's too tight, stop that! Oh! Wait, I can still... Oh, no! What happened? I should have been able to... Scaled Lord, he fell in. Oh, I can use this. That's right, I can still make this look like it was all his fault. I have a feeling we might be about to be blamed for a murder. No, I should save on disk. I don't have saves, so I might as well use them. Find yourself falling into a nightmare. Tyrion, I'm so sorry. I can't believe they made you watch. Are you okay? Right. Are you going to keep fighting them? Voice is quiet. Question barely comes out as a whisper. What? Going to keep fighting the nobility. I don't know if I can anymore. Today they showed me what they're truly capable of. I was naive. Thought that the truth would be prevail, but I'm only one person. I can't do this anymore. So you're just going to give up. You're the only one who will fight against them. You're just going to give up then? Was my mother's death truly pointless? I'm sorry. Teach me how to be like you. What? You said you can't do this alone anymore, right? So teach me how to be a defense attorney. I can help you. We can fight them together. Tyrion, you're just a child. I can't just... Miss Tamora, please. I won't have anything left. Please, just take me away from here. Clutch your hand tightly, feeling the fading warmth of the final message left for you. It's the last comforting memory you'll have of her. It's a memory that you'll never experience again. Mom. You're startled awake. Some confusion, you realize it was all a dream. You didn't have any trouble falling asleep, but your slumber was less than restful. It's been a while since you remembered that day. City as soon as possible. Celeste, are you up? Huh? That's a new face. Celeste was wistfully staring out the window, watching the rain. Her head whips towards you when she realizes that you're awake. Are you okay? What's wrong? No! Nothing. It's nothing. Seemed keen on sharing. It's best not to pry. Anyways, do you know if the city is still under lockdown? I haven't checked yet. I was waiting for you to wake up. You go outside and check the city gates. The blockade still hasn't disappeared. In fact, it looks like it's been fortified for even more nights. Can't leave yet. Double down on the guards. What's going on here? Tyrion! About Rika in the distance as she calls out to you. When she sees you, she breaks out into a full sprint towards you. Looks exhausted. Has she been looking for you in the rain? Tyrion, it's terrible! There was an accident at the Arcane refinery last night. One of my friends who worked there, he fell into a vat of chemicals.
And this is how the Joker was born.
Or that one episode of Johnny Bravo where he falls into hair gel and is preserved for the future that is all Carl. That's like one of only the 3 episodes of Johnny Bravo I can remember off the top of my head. There's that one, the one where he goes on a date with a deer, and the episode where the little girl whose name escapes me makes lemonade. He's dead. Oh, Rika, I'm so sorry. If there's anything I can do, Lord Van Sanctus is blaming the Dracogen Trading Company. He's trying to charge the owner with criminal negligence. The Lord, this Peter Von Sanctus would have a lot of leverage in a legal battle like this. Susie sounds right. I think out of all of like the major cartoon era Cartoon Network stuff, I think Johnny Bravo is the one I don't want to say I watched it at least, but it's been the longest since I saw an episode of that. It's like on some like Boomerang or Adult Swim early morning stuff. They still air some Cartoon Network stuff from back then, and I probably caught some Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff, probably like maybe even a Cow and Chicken episode somewhere in there. I don't remember. Wait, I do remember the Scooby-Doo crossover, but I only remember the Johnny and Velma glasses scene. That's it. I can't be seen without my glasses. I must be using this accident as an opportunity to oust Dracogen from his territory. Tyrion, you're a lawyer, aren't you? You help them? I don't think I can. What? But... Rika, I specialize in homicide cases. Most of my clients are mages who've been charged with murder. I've never even tried a case like this before. There isn't any magic involved and there's no killer. Don't worry, I'm sure the Dracogen Trading Company knows plenty of qualified attorneys who can help. I'm not so sure about that. Think about it. A lord from one of the 4 pillar families is pressing those charges. You honestly think anyone else will try to fight them on this? He has a point. There aren't many attorneys who will go against nobility under any circumstance. The ones who do that are you and Miss Demora. Alright, let's see what I can do. Really? But please don't get your hopes up. I have very little information to work with right now. And, to be perfectly honest, I'm really out of my element. That's okay. I'm sure that Mr. Dracogen would be to take any help he can. Mr. Dracogen? He's the owner of the Dracogen Trading Company. He should be at the old Arcane refinery right now. That must be the scene of the accident, too. It would be best to start your investigation there. I've been away from the shop for too long, so I can't come with you. But drop by the cafe if there's anything I can do to help. Follow Rika's directions and move through the city industrial district. It reminds you of your childhood, back when you couldn't control the Eye of Horus. You always avoided this part of the city, always covered with an overwhelming fog of misery and fatigue. However, you feel less of that now. Because you have more control of your powers, or has something else changed? Right, we're here. You arrive at the refinery and see there aren't many people around. The people you do see appear to be from the City Watch. Operations was halted after the incident. Wow, so this is an Arcane refinery. I always saw this place as a child, but I never really understood what they do here. Those machines refine the arcane crystals that are used in artificery. Those crystals are used as a power source for conducting magical energy. Look around and spot an especially frustrated individual. Needs to stand out from the knights and cleaning staff. Could he be the guildmaster Rika spoke of? If I had a nickel for every time in this game we had a character with gray hair and a beard combo, I'd have 3 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but I'm gonna be able to afford a piece of candy very soon. He takes note of you as you head further into the refinery.
Hello there! You must be the attorney that Miss Tudor spoke of.
I am. I take it that you're the guildmaster of Dracogen Trading Company?
Yes, my name's Stefanik Dracogen. I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. I really appreciate you lending your aid in this matter.
I already told Rika this, but I've never tried a civil case before. It's okay. Across, what, technically 9 ace attorneys? We've only tried one of those once. Wait, is it 9? 6, 2 great aces. Clayton, yeah, 9. I guess 8.5. I would need to learn more about what happened before I can decide whether or not I can represent you. I'm honestly not sure how much I can help you.
Well, there isn't much of a single attorney in Ornox that will represent me. So I'll accept whatever help I can get.
Celeste was right. All the attorneys are afraid to stand against Lord Von Sanctus. Where should we start, though? This case is probably different from the homicides we're used to. Homicide or not, the case resolves around a wrongful death. If I did represent Dracogen, I would need to prove that he wasn't at fault for the accident. To do that, we should start by finding out exactly how and why the accident occurred. I'd also question the witnesses who saw the victim when it happened. And it wouldn't hurt to take a look at the scene of the accident either. The old master would have a lot of knowledge about refinery operations. Questioning him might also give you some insight about what happened. It's a vat of chemicals that I can't quite identify. According to Celeste, these chemicals are used to refine and create arcane crystals. Power box. It contains artificery hardware and an arcane power cell. Connected to chemical vats, so it must control some of the functions of the refinery. These metal stairs lead up to the walkway above.
Repario Arcanum.
There's traces of transmutation magic on this power box. It is an artificery device, so that's not entirely out of the ordinary. There are traces of transmutation parts in these parts of the vat. I'm honestly not quite sure how these vats even work. Perhaps transmutation magic is used in the refinement process somehow? To start, can you tell us exactly what happened?
Well, it all began during the work rush yesterday evening. One of my employees fell from the walkway and into a vat of magical chemicals. Those chemicals contain extremely volatile and destructive evocation magic. Because of that, he unfortunately died before we could have pulled him out.
I see. This weirdly reminds me of something. So, growing up back home before the move, there was a notable chocolate factory within an hour's drive. And I want to say sometime during, like, elementary school, we had a field trip there to learn, like, how chocolate's made, and it was part of, like, a science class thing, I think. But they talked about how they basically had to keep the chocolate either at boiling or at least reasonably hot to, like, get all the molding right in the giant vats that looked like they're probably about the scale of these ones. And something about that put a fear in young me in a way I can't quite describe, because I was like 6, maybe 7.
I see. Now it just sounds like an old unfortunate accident.
Why was Lord Von Sanctus blaming you for what happened?
There are guardrails in the walkways to prevent people from falling. Supposedly those guardrails broke apart when that employee tried to lean against it. According to Von Sanctus, the accident was the direct result of my negligence to maintain the refinery. My employees have taken great care to inspect and maintain the facilities. I have no idea how this happened.
You telling the truth? This could all just be lip service. The only way to know for sure is to inspect the walkway yourself. Earlier you said that the victim was an employee of yours. Did you tell us more about them?
Yeah, I hired him just a few months ago. And what happened to him? He was a young man named Justin Way.
I have missed names like that, because we haven't had any of those really so far, have we? At least not that I can think of, because Celeste's name doesn't really have a name. Grant's didn't from memory, right? Or Pierce? I've already forgotten the name of the first. Have we? I can't. Justin Way is the first one I can think of. Unless I just missed something with Redmond's. Okay, you're right. I didn't think about his name like that. Because Stabby. Is he a good employee?
He was a hard worker, but he was a bit rough around the edges when he first started. Before working for me, I heard that he'd always spend his time with the local delinquents. Miss Tudor practically begged me to hire him. He told me he wanted to turn his life around.
That does sound like something Rika would do. She always had a habit of getting involved in her friend's personal business.
When you live a life like Justin's, it helps when you have someone to give you some structure and direction. So I decided to give the boy a chance by hiring him. He was clearly a hard worker. He did well to earn his keep. He always followed the rules too, so I have no idea why he was up in that walkway.
Wait, he wasn't supposed to be on that walkway? Earlier you mentioned that Justin wasn't supposed to be on the walkway. What do you mean by that?
Well, Justin worked in an entirely different department. He was part of a team that managed packaging and freight. He had no business being inside the refinery building, much less the upper walkway.
That's strange, to say the least. Is he the type of person to wander around places that he's not supposed to?
No, like I said, he always followed my rules. All just makes this whole situation that much more confusing.
Was there anyone around when the accident occurred? Did anyone see Justin fall?
There were many employees here at the time, but there were only a handful of witnesses who actually saw Justin fall from the walkway.
Who were these witnesses? If I remember correctly, Miss Tudor was the one who saw him fall. Wait, Rika was there when it happened?
Yeah, she witnessed the accident alongside the harbor master.
Orson.
Oh, you're acquainted with him.
I am. Orson was close friends with your mother when you were a child. But after you left Ornox, you went out of your way to cut contact with everyone from your past. What were all these people doing here in the first place? Rika's a cafe owner and Morrison's a harbor master.
I'm a little concerned about that myself. I'm still unsure about Miss Tudor, but the harbor master was accompanied by a nobleman of some sort.
A nobleman?
I'm not privy to the specifics, but apparently a nobleman had the legal authority to go wherever he wanted to.
You want to ask Morrison about that. But it will be awkward to speak with him after all these years. And Morrison, the harbor master, okay. Alright, so let's move to the refinery walkway first. Tyrion, do you want me to scan for magical traces? Well, there aren't any magical elements in this case, but I suppose we'll have to check. Alright. A vat of dangerous magical chemicals. Supposedly they're corrosive enough to dissolve anyone who's fortunate to fall into it. Celeste is watching you carefully. You can be a little overprotective at times. Looks like the guardrail's completely broke apart. Rails are completely rusted, too. Reikogen lying about properly maintaining the site? I doubt it, because while there's some consistent rust, like, along that, it's not on any of the... Game, what am I hitting over here? Oh, the back button.
Arcanum.
There are traces of evocation magic on the chemicals in these vats. That makes sense. Evocation is spell magic for spells that create and disperse energy. These chemicals probably induce some sort of magical reaction to create arcane crystals. What? What's wrong? There are traces of transmutation all over the guardrails. Transmutation? Do you see those traces anywhere else on the walkway? No, it's only this area. Transmutation is skull magic that changes the properties of physical objects. Usually mages use transmutation spells to strengthen and repair objects. Yeah, it's only the area that looks rusted. And I guess given the dialogue that we heard when we were asleep, like that tracks, because it sounds like this wasn't meant to happen, but something was active? Someone used a spell to change the physical properties of the guardrails. Given by the current state of the rails, we can only conclude one thing. Whatever it is, it's weakened. Spell weakened the guardrails. Oh, structural integrity, actually. That works well for that. Right, someone used a transmutation spell to weaken the guardrails. Afterward, the guardrails were so weak that Justin accidentally broke them. Only these rails were weakened. The sabotage rails are right next to this vat of corrosive chemicals, too. There was a clear intention behind the actions of this unknown mage. Judging by what happened, the intention only seems to be one thing. The unknown mage, because we don't know who did it yet, wanted someone to fall into the vat. Whoever sabotaged that guardrail wanted somebody to fall into the vat. Why else would they have only targeted those specific guardrails? But why? Who would do this? Feel your fist clenching tightly. Someone committed murder using magic here. Whoever did this had the gall to try to cover it up. Tyrion? Give whoever did this. Through with them, you'll make them feel a fraction of the misery that your mother... Tyrion! What? You okay? Right. Sorry. Anyways, if it weren't for your detect magic, everyone would have written this off as an accident. Magical traces are only detectable for 48 hours after a mage casts a spell. That means whoever cast the transmutation spell did so very recently. Right. Alright, let's check Town Square. This is probably gonna be just where we can talk with Celeste, but I also want to take a look around. Several businesses have opened up since the last time I came here. They all seem pretty busy. The blockade is preventing people from leaving the city. Local shops will probably be getting a lot more business if the guard let us out. It's a statue of some kind of daredevil? That's Ferdinand Dumont, the famous stunt performer and physicist. I hear he used to run shows here several decades ago. He'd always jump over large obstacles and crevices in some kind of wheeled vehicle. I heard he even tried creating flying machines near the end of his career. Flying machines? Yeah, I heard he didn't even use magic to make them fly. Shame the kingdom hasn't tried to develop his research further. I wonder who that could be satirizing.
Arcanum.
Let's talk with Rika first. Arrive at the cafe and see that the restaurant is packed with customers. Don't see Rika anywhere, though. Must be preoccupied. Perhaps you should check in when the restaurant's less busy. Okay, so time for the harbor. Although, actually, now that I think about it, one thing I do want to try. You should notify Dracogen about the traces of the transmutation found. But perhaps you should wait until you obtain more information first. After all, knowing about a potential saboteur might unnecessarily stress him out, even more if you don't have... Okay. You arrive at the harbor in search of Morrison, the harbor master. However, you notice a large concentration of knights in the shipping area. Notably, the Arcane Inquisition is amongst them. You spot Commander White and Prosecutor Steele when corroborating the knights there. Wonder what those two are doing here. Knights at the blockade said they're investigating something. Must be magic involved in the Inquisitions here. You think this has anything to do with having to Justin? I doubt it. We didn't see any Inquisition knights at the refinery. Must be just a coincidence. You're probably right. I'm kind of curious about what the Inquisition's investigating. Yeah, it has nothing to do with our case yet. It'd be best to leave them to their business. Alright.
Oi, you there! You best clear out. The knights have closed the harbour.
Morrison?
Huh? Do I know ye? Why, Cuthbert, is that you?
I
heard from little Miss Surica that you're back in town. What can I do you for?
We heard that you were at the refinery yesterday. Well, we heard you witnessed the accident. Wanted to ask you some questions about what you saw.
Oh, right. Surica mentioned that you're an attorney now. What? Still hung up on business with your mother. Sorry, I guess it's not my business. Anyway, I'll tell you what I know.
modest ship, probably used by most local businesses to transport goods by sea. I can't help but feel nostalgic seeing these ships. I used to travel by sea all the time when I was traveling the world. Probably my favorite part. It does sound pretty nice. I'll have to try riding one day. Are you sure? You get motion sick pretty easily. Sailing on a ship might kill you. She has a point there. He just like me for real. Because I can't travel, as I think I've said before several times. A row of houses line the edge of the harbor. When I was a kid, I always dreamed of saving up enough gold to buy my own house in the harbor front. I have a job as an attorney now, you can always move back here. Now, if possible, I never want to return to this city again. There are several crates containing all kinds of goods. They must be the merchandise of the local business.
Prepario Arcanum.
Dracogen told us that you witnessed the accident.
Aye. It was a horrible thing what happened. No one deserves that to happen to that poor lad.
Could you tell us what you saw?
Well, I was showing a patron around town, and for some reason he really wanted to take a look at the refinery.
About taking out the local artificery? You must mean artificery.
Anyway, he was looking at the machinery, and suddenly Musorica came running toward us.
She was trying to tell us something, but the damn machines were too loud for us to hear her. After a while, she just pointed out the walkway and we saw the horrible sight. We saw someone fall into the vat. By the time we could get to them to stop the machines, it was too late. That matches up with what you know so far. What was Rika even doing there? She should have still been running the cafe at the time of the accident. The patron who was visiting the factory, did they also witness the accident? Did you tell us how just how Justin fell off the walkway? Was it because the guardrail broke under his weight?
Yeah, he did. It was a little strange. Guardrail's made out of metal, yeah? But the way it broke, you just would have thought it was made out of cardboard. You barely leaned on it and it just broke apart.
A poorly maintained guardrail shouldn't have been broken that easily. Did someone really use transmutation to sabotage it? So that possibility could clear Dracogen's name. Presenting the possibility of a magical crime might just complicate things. You mentioned that you were escorting a patron when the accident happened. Who was he? Did he witness the accident too?
Aye, he was right with me when Rika was trying to get our attention. It'd be hard to miss it with the commotion she was making.
That's who he was. He said his name was Asta. It's the second time that name's come up now. Aster, you don't know anyone by that name. Why does that name sound familiar? You know what his surname was?
Ah, the lad was really secretive with his last name for some reason.
So clearly some type of noble. Must have had a recognizable name. Is he a noble from a well-known house? Why were you escorting this Aster in the first place? Don't you have to manage the harbor?
Well, I can't really manage anything because of them.
He gestures toward the Inquisition Knights crowding the pier.
They blocked all sea travel out of the city till this mess is sorted out.
They have a lot of knights investigating the harbor. Do you know what they're looking for?
You hear this from me. According to them, Aster's ship just up and vanished in the dead of night.
Vanished, as in someone hijacked it?
It's the thing. The guards wouldn't notice if someone had driven off the ship, especially one of that size.
When I heard, one of the guards would have just sworn they saw it vanish in a flash of light. Aster was Arya's betrothed, that's true. So that means he's especially a high-ranking noble. Although... There's three possibilities. One of the other four pillars houses, so maybe like Von Sanctus's kid, or... Sybil, I think was the name of the fourth great house, I think. He could be a lower noble that because Arya seems to be acting out against what the other fours are like, he'd maybe to try and just get her to behave. Or exactly my third thought, he could be literal royalty. Flash of light, like something created by a spell? What kind of ship was it? Do you know how big it was?
From the size of it, I'd say it was probably a galleon.
And the royalty could have galleons. A galleon, a spell, that skill would have to be pretty powerful to affect a ship of that size. I wonder who this Aster person is. He must be pretty high profile if they're calling the Kingsguard and the Inquisition for him. All over a missing ship, too. Spent some time with him, am I correct, Morrison? Did he tell you where he was staying? If I remember right, he's staying at the local inn near the town square. Wait, that's the tavern that we were staying at. He's this high profile. Why is he staying at an inn for commoners? No idea. He's an eccentric one for sure. Whoever he is, he also witnessed the accident, so you definitely want to be speaking with him. And if he's a noble, there is a chance that he's the mage that sabotaged the guardrail.
Prepario Arcanum.
I guess we're good to go over here now? Or is she still not here? The table we're sitting at seems relatively new, but Rika apparently had them custom made by a local carpenter. Why is this all new? Oh, wait, because Rika's not here to actually interact with it. Okay.
Prepario Arcanum.
Alright. I think we're probably meant to talk with Dracogen now. Actually, no, it's at the town square and actually ask her where we should go next. I feel like that we got everything out of him we got. Oh, we're actually going over there. Alright. Didn't realize the tavern was an accessible place. Morrison said that Aster's staying in one of the rooms of this tavern. Which room is it? Always just check each room. Might irritate the patrons, though? If Aster doesn't want to be found, we might alert him if we annoy too many people. Guess you're right. Your family owns a tavern, right? If you had to put a VIP somewhere, which room would you choose? I guess it would be the one at the end of the hallway, when I use my family's tavern. Hello? Someone does come to answer the door, but they only open the door a fraction of the way. The crack of the door is less than an inch wide. You can't get a good look at the person's face. I'm terribly sorry, but if your business isn't urgent, I'd like to be left alone. Sorry if I'm intruding. Are you Aster? My name is Tyrion Cuthbert. I'm the defense attorney at Stephanic Dracogen. What I've heard, you witnessed the accident at the refinery yesterday. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions about what you saw. Yeah, that's pretty princely, isn't it? Upon hearing your name, the man fully opens the door. You're finally able to get a good look at him. He definitely stands out from the other patrons of the inn. Must be a wealthy patron that you're looking for. Tyrion Cuthbert, the protege of the infamous Ruby Tamora. So you know who I am? I do. I know you very well. I'm your biggest Yes. What? I can't believe it. The infamous Tyrion Cuthbert standing right in front of my tavern room. What? I've read all about your feats, Mr. Cuthbert. You successfully indicted the head of House Pierce. You didn't think twice about confronting the inheritor of House Frege. And you defeated Lord Von Sanctus in the chess tournament yesterday. I'm so lost right now. And you must be Celeste McCoy. Tyrion's first client and the Crimson Demon of the Eastern Kingdoms. How'd you find out about that name? The Crimson what? Don't ask. Anyways, if you were Aster, does that mean you witnessed the accident with the Harbor Master yesterday? Yes, I did. Are you going to interrogate me about what I saw? I'll answer whatever questions you have. Never met a witness that was this eager to cooperate. But hopefully this means he won't hide any details about what he saw.
Prepario Arcanum.
So is it me, or does this hallway look similar to the one in your family's tavern? Well, most taverns use the same architecture. I don't think it's that strange. No, but it looks exactly like McCoy Tavern. It's uncanny. If whoever made this tavern just decided to reuse the same design. Hey, making unique designs is difficult, Tyrion, and it costs money. You really think developers should be spending resources on a location you only see once? I don't know, it just seems kind of lazy. Well, if it bothers you so much, why don't you... It's worth noting, if memory serves, while this was an Indiegogo game, I don't think they got their full funding that they wanted. Like, they got a lot of it, so they still finished the game. But I feel like this is them poking fun at some stuff like that.
you decide to drop the matter. You clearly know who I am, but I'm still unsure of who you are, Aster. Ah, my apologies. I'd prefer to keep my full identity hidden for now. He's within his right to do so, but you can't help but feel a little suspicious. In any case, what's your business in Ornax? I was accompanying a ship transporting goods to Lord Van Sanctus. Same ship that was magically stolen? I'm surprised you found out about that. The King's Guard have been trying their best to keep that information hidden. I suppose I shouldn't expect anything less from you, Mr. Cuthbert. Flattery will get him nowhere. What was that on the ship? Must be pretty valuable to be worth stealing. Ah, I thought there was anything on that ship worth drawing the ire of the entire kingdom. Truth is, during the time when my ship was stolen, I was supposed to be on it. I see. I thought the ship might have actually been an attempt to kidnap you. That's my current theory, anyway. I wouldn't make any sense otherwise. Seems awfully calm about this. I'll feed you in like 10. According to Morrison, you were also in the refinery that night. You witnessed the moment the victim fell into the vat? I did. Can you tell us exactly what you saw? Detail you can remember could be important. Well, it all began when I was visiting the refinery with the harbor master. I was inspecting the refinery's machines when a girl frantically ran towards us. She was hysterical. Looks like she was trying to tell us something. We couldn't hear her over the noise in the machines. When she realized that we couldn't hear her, she simply pointed at the walkway. That's when we saw Justin Way fall off of it into the vat. This next question will be very important. Did you see the victim break the guardrail by leaning on it? Yes, he broke the guard before he fell. This testimony matches exactly what Morrison saw. The way he fell was very strange, though. Strange? What can you mean by that? You mentioned the way that the victim fell was strange? You feel like the guardrail broke too easily? Like, yes, how did you know? It matches with the statement that the harbor master gave us. I don't want to reveal the traces of transportation out of the walkway, at least not yet. But yes, the guardrail broke the moment that Justin leaned on it. And his body was extremely limp when falling, too. His body was limp? Normally when falling from a great height, one would flare their arms, yes? When I saw him falling, he wasn't moving at all. Wasn't... Could he have died somewhere else, maybe, and this was just a cover-up? Did you see the expression on his face? He might have been unconscious. I'm afraid I couldn't see anything on his face. It's much too dark to make out his features. Wait, you didn't actually see his face? How'd you know it was actually him that fell in? Well, who else could it have been? No one else has been reported missing. They also found the remnants of Justin's body in the vat. It was definitely him that fell in. That's true. I don't have much reason to believe that Justin might still be alive. There were traces of transmutation magic at the crime scene. It appears that Aster's quite a high-profile individual. Probably a mage, and aside from Rika, he's probably the only other mage at the refinery that night. You guys came out right. You might be able to see something incriminating through the Eye of Horus. Aster, we'll respect your privacy if you don't want to tell us who you are. But could you at least answer one question for me? I can make no promises, but I'll do my best to tell you what I can. Are you a mage? Oh, is that all? Yes, I am a mage, and I'm quite the practiced one at that. See, Celeste can cast detect magic to look at the scene of the accident. We found traces of transmutation magic at the scene of the crime. Namely on the guardrails that Justin fell through. What? Here it is. I can't believe it! What? Are you telling me that a mage used transportation magic to weaken the rails? Wait, does that mean this was actually a murder made to look like an accident? You don't see anything incriminating? You can see his thoughts clearly. His feeling of happiness was a bit off-putting, though. And you asked if I was a mage? Does that mean that I'm a potential suspect? This is the greatest thing to ever happen to me. This is the first time you've met someone that's happy to be suspected of murder. Sorry, it's not right of me to get so excited about something this serious. But it's like something out of a mystery novel. Knows too much.
That's not the reaction you were expecting. Nevertheless, it doesn't look like there's any incriminating thoughts in his mind. The emotions he was emanating were all positive. There wasn't a drop of fear in there. What does this mean? The way it looks like you found out everything you can from Master. You should move somewhere else. And we should, but I think, honestly, I'm just going to end here a little 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early. Because for one thing, I may have gotten a little excited when voicing him. A certain someone in the house may have come in to be like, hey, get down. But also, someone wants food. Yeah, this is grim. I don't think we ever had a single... Well, no, I think there was a character across all of the Ace Attorneys that was very excited to be interrogated by you. But I forget who it was. By the way, want to thank y'all for coming on by tonight. Cam, Allie, and anyone else who's lurking, thanks for stopping on in. Kaito, for instance. Next stream should be tomorrow, and in that we're gonna be... Well, probably... At the current pace, I doubt we're gonna finish this case if it's about the same length as the last one. But we'll get a good amount of the way in, probably. Yeah, we're gonna be raiding Cabal, who's currently playing FF4. Send some love his way. Pretty chill dude, and I love the game he's playing. See you guys then.